After dropping my son at the airport, I received a panicked call from Sophia, our housekeeper of 10 years. "Mr. Maddox, please don't go home yet. Check the security cameras, please." My hands shook as I opened the AP. What I saw on that screen made my blood run cold. The woman I had trusted for 23 years was standing in our driveway, calmly watching, smiling as a man I barely knew crouched down beside my truck, planting fake evidence to destroy me. My heart clenched and I felt like I was about to collapse. Welcome and thanks for being here. Before we continue, feel free to comment where you're watching from, or simply say hello. It really helps this story reach the right people. A quick note for clarity: some scenes, details, and timelines are adapted to support storytelling and reflection. Names and settings are adjusted, and any resemblance is coincidental. The fog that morning was heavy and low, the kind that blurs the edges of the world and presses against the windshield. I kept both hands on the steering wheel of my F-150 as we drove east along Highway 26 toward Portland International Airport. The heater ran steadily, but the cab felt hollow cold in a way that had nothing to do with the weather. Jackson sat beside me, staring out the window. 22 years old, my son. He hadn't spoken since we pulled out of the driveway. No goodbye plans, no small talk, not even a response when I asked if he'd remembered his passport. Just silence. I tried again. "You excited about the program?" He gave a small nod. Nothing more. "Jackson, I know things have been a little..." "Dad." His voice cut in flat and tired. "Can we just not do this right now?" I swallowed what I was about to say and kept my eyes on the road. When did it start feeling like we were strangers? When did my own kids stop meeting my gaze? We reached the departure lane at PDX just after 7. Jackson grabbed his backpack before I'd fully stopped the truck. "Jackson, hang on." He paused with one hand on the door. For a brief moment, I hoped he might turn back, say something, anything, a smile, a quick "love you, Dad." Instead, he glanced back without really looking at me. "See you, Dad." And then he was gone. I sat there with the engine running, watching until the crowd swallowed him whole. 22 years of raising that boy, teaching him how to ride a bike, throw a ball, change a tire. And now, I couldn't even get a proper goodbye. As I pulled back onto the highway, my phone vibrated. Sophia Morales, our housekeeper, 58 years old, 10 years with our family. She never called unless something was wrong. I answered through Bluetooth. "Sophia, what's going on?" Her voice trembled. "Mr. Maddox, you need to check the cameras, please." My brow tightened. "What cameras?" "The security cameras at the house." She inhaled sharply. "Please don't go home. Not yet. Go somewhere safe first." My heart began to pound. "Sophia, what happened?" "I can't explain right now. Just please. Look at the cameras. Don't go home until you do." The call ended. I pulled into a park and ride lot, hands shaking. Sophia wasn't the type to panic. If she sounded like this, something was seriously wrong. I opened the security app on my phone. 4 feeds: front porch, driveway, backyard, garage. We'd installed the system 2 years earlier after a string of break-ins nearby. Daphne had pushed for it. I tapped the garage camera and rewound. Timestamp 6:45 a.m., just after Jackson and I had left. The footage loaded. My stomach dropped. There was my truck. The F-150 parked exactly where I'd left it the night before. I'd driven Daphne's sedan to the airport. 3 men stood beside it. I didn't recognize the first 2 dark jackets, caps pulled low. But the third man was unmistakable. Marcus Kane, early 40s, clean cut, always in a tailored suit. A risk management consultant. Daphne had mentioned him before, said he occasionally worked with her company. I watched as Marcus crouched down. One of the men handed him a black package about the size of a shoebox wrapped tightly in duct tape. Without hesitation, Marcus slid under the driver's side of my truck. His legs stuck out for about a minute. Then he crawled back out. The package was gone. He stood, pulled out his phone, and snapped photos: driver's side, rear bumper, license plate. One of the men laughed and slapped him on the back. Another spoke into his phone, loud enough for the microphone to pick it up. "Done. He's finished. Just like she wanted. Just like she wanted." I replayed the clip. Again. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. A man I'd met twice was planting something under my truck, something meant to be discovered by the police. I switched to the front porch camera and rewound to 6:50 a.m. Daphne stepped outside, dressed for work, coffee mug in hand. She glanced toward the driveway. She didn't react, didn't ask questions. She smiled. Not a big smile, just a small knowing one. Then she went back inside. I sat there unable to move. The fog outside pressed in and my chest felt tight. My wife, Daphne, 23 years together, the mother of my son, the woman I'd built a home and a life with. She had just set me up. I didn't know what was in that package. Drugs maybe, a tracker, something illegal, something that would land me in jail the moment my truck was searched. And Marcus had taken photos, proof tying it all to me. And Jackson, that was why he'd been distant, why he couldn't look at me this morning. He knew, or at least, he knew something. My phone buzzed again. Daphne. I stared at her name on the screen. For a moment I considered answering, asking why, demanding an explanation, begging if I had to. Then I remembered that smile. I let it ring out. I sat there gripping the wheel knuckles, white, thinking about the last 23 years. The house on Skyline Boulevard, the backyard barbecues, birthday cakes, Christmas mornings. Had it all been fake? Or had something shifted without me noticing? When did it happen? How had I missed it? Another buzz, a text this time from an unfamiliar number. Mr. Maddox, this is Sophia. I'm using my daughter's old phone. They're monitoring yours. Meet me. I'll explain everything, but please do not go home. She included an address, a rest stop along Highway 26 40 miles east. Every instinct told me to go straight to the police, show them the footage, let them take over. But take over what sealed package I hadn't opened. A conversation caught on audio, a smile in a driveway. What crime could I even report? And if officers searched my truck right now, what would they find? Whatever Marcus planted, and I'd be the one in cuffs. Number one, I needed answers first. I started the engine and merged back onto Highway 26, heading toward the mountains. The fog thinned as I drove. Behind me, Portland faded into gray. And for the first time in 23 years of marriage, one thing became painfully clear. My wife had just tried to ruin me, and I had no idea how far this went. I made a decision in that parking lot. If they wanted me to drive that truck, I needed to know what I'd be driving with. 30 minutes later, I was back at PDX long-term parking level 3, where my F-150 sat exactly where I'd left it. I'd stopped at a drugstore, first latex gloves, Ziploc bags, small toolkit. The cashier barely looked up. The garage was quiet, a few scattered cars, nobody around. I pulled the rental Camry into a spot 50 feet away, pulled on the gloves, and walked over. My heart hammered as I crouched beside the driver's side and looked underneath. There, behind the front wheel, well held with industrial duct tape, the black package. I peeled it away inch by inch until it came free, heavier than it looked. I slipped it into a Ziploc and walked back to the Camry like I was carrying groceries. I drove to the top-level corner, where security cameras have blind spots. 25 years as a facilities engineer, I know where they don't look. Then I opened it, 6 bags. White powder, maybe 50 grams each. Black Sharpie on every bag. For transport, MK. Marcus Kane's initials. I didn't need to taste it. Cocaine, or close enough. Real or fake didn't matter. The second cops found this in my truck, I'd be in cuffs. And Marcus had photos proving it was my vehicle. Daphne would play the shocked wife. Jackson would back her up, and I'd be gone. I photographed everything, then sealed it back up and shoved it under the passenger seat. My phone buzzed. Sophia. Mr. Maddox, did you find it? Yeah, I found it. Dios mío, she exhaled shakily. I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner, but I was afraid. Sophia, what's going on? I overheard them. Mrs. Maddox and Marcus. 3 days ago, late at night, I was upstairs cleaning. They were in the office talking about you. My stomach dropped. What did they say? They said they needed to move fast, that you were asking questions. Mrs. Maddox said, once he's arrested, we move quickly. Sell the house, liquidate everything. And Marcus laughed. He said, the cops will find exactly what we need them to find. I closed my eyes. The world tilted. And Jackson, I forced the words out. Silence. Then quietly, Mrs. Maddox asked, what about Jackson? Marcus said, the kid's already on our side. He'll testify if we need him to. The kid's already on our side. Jackson's cold shoulder this morning. The way he wouldn't look at me. How long had they been planning this? Mr. Maddox, you can't go home. They're watching for you. Mrs. Maddox told Marcus you'd probably come back after dropping Jackson off. Where are you? I left. Told Mrs. Maddox I was sick. I'm at my sister's in Gresham. Smart. Sophia had always been sharper than people realized. Why are you helping me? A pause. Do you remember 5 years ago? My daughter Isabella. Oldies on the downs, meningridor. I did. Isabella Morales, 25. Emergency heart surgery, some congenital defect. Insurance denied the claim. $120,000. Sophia had been desperate. I'd pulled $50,000 from savings. Told Sophia it was a gift, not a loan. Never mentioned it to Daphne. You saved my baby's life, Mr. Maddox. Her voice cracked. She died 2 years later, but those 2 years, you gave me 2 more years with her. I will never forget that. My eyes stung. Sophia, so now I save you. You are a good man. Mrs. Maddox? She spat the name. She is not. I sat there holding a phone in one hand and my life falling apart in the other. What do I do? You run, you hide, and you find proof. Real proof, not just what I heard. How? I don't know, but you need to move now. Mrs. Maddox knows you have access to security cameras. She'll delete the footage if she realizes you saw it. She was right. I needed to download everything before it disappeared. I have something for you, Sophia said. A USB drive. I copied files from Mrs. Maddox's laptop. Emails, messages. I don't know if it's enough, but it's something. My chest tightened. Sophia, if they find out, they won't. I've been cleaning her office for 5 years. She doesn't even see me anymore. Bitterness edged her voice. I'm invisible to her. Where? There's a rest stop off Highway 26 about 40 miles east. Mile marker 34. I'll meet you there in 2 hours. Okay, thank you. Mr. Maddox, be careful who you trust. Marcus isn't just a consultant. He's connected. I've seen him with dangerous people. The line went dead. I sat there staring at concrete walls. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere below, a car alarm wailed and stopped. I found an ATM near the exit, pulled $1,500 in cash. Then I turned off location services on my phone. It wouldn't stop them completely, but it might buy time. I thought about going to the police, walking into a precinct and laying it all out. But what would I say? My wife smiled in the driveway. I found drugs I claimed someone else planted. Without proof, I was just a paranoid husband. And the moment they searched my truck, I'd be the one in custody. Number one, I needed to disappear long enough to understand what was happening. I started the Camry and headed for the exit. As I passed my F-151 last time, I looked at it sitting there in dim light. 20 years I'd driven that truck. Took Jackson to Little League in it. Hauled lumber for the deck I built. Now it was a trap. Highway 26 stretched ahead, winding east into the foothills. The fog had lifted, but the sky stayed gray. I set cruise control and tried to breathe. 40 miles, 90 minutes. Sophia had an address. She had files, maybe answers. But as the city disappeared in my rear view and trees closed in on both sides, one thought kept circling. What if this is another trap? What if Marcus had gotten to Sophia? What if I was driving straight into an ambush? I glanced at the passenger seat. The Ziploc bag sat there, silent evidence of how far they had already gone. 90 minutes to decide. Was I running toward answers or straight into the end? The rest stop appeared through a break in the trees, a small turnout with restrooms, vending machines, and a parking lot barely big enough for a dozen cars. When I pulled in, it was nearly empty. Just 2 18-wheelers idling at the far end and a gray sedan parked near the picnic tables. Sophia's car. I parked 3 spots away, scanning the tree line, the road behind me, the rear view, looking for Marcus, for men in dark jackets, for anything wrong. Nothing, just wind through the pines and the low rumble of diesel engines. Sophia stood beside her car, arms wrapped around herself. She looked smaller than I remembered, older, her eyes red-rimmed, hands shaking. Mr. Maddox, her voice broke. Sophia, I crossed to her. Before I could say anything, she gripped my arm. I'm so sorry, I should have told you sooner. Stop, you're helping me now. That's what matters. We sat at one of the picnic tables, wood damp from morning fog. Sophia pulled a tissue from her purse, wiped her face, then looked at me with an expression I'd seen before when I'd handed her that check 5 years ago. Gratitude mixed with something harder, determination. How much do you know? She asked. Not enough. Tell me everything. She took a breath. Mrs. Maddox and Marcus Kane. They've been together 8 months. The words hit like a punch. Together? You mean? Yes, an affair. I saw them in the house twice when you were out of town, March and May. 8 months. Had Daphne seemed different? Distant, I'd been so focused on work on Jackson pulling away I hadn't noticed. They're not just having an affair. They're planning. Sophia's voice dropped. 3 days ago, I heard her on the phone with Marcus. She said, once he's arrested, we move fast. Sell the house, liquidate accounts. I want him gone completely. No alimony, no custody fights. Just gone. My throat tightened. And Marcus? He laughed, said, that's going to take planning. It's not cheap. Mrs. Maddox said she didn't care. She'd pay whatever it took. 23 years. We'd built a life together, raised a son. And now she wanted me gone. Not divorced. Gone. What about Jackson? Sophia's face crumpled. Mrs. Maddox asked Marcus, "What about Jackson?" He said, "The kid's already on our side. He'll testify if we need him. Says his father's been erratic, unstable." The world narrowed. Jackson, my son, going to testify against me, call me unstable. Does Jackson know about the drugs? I don't think so, but Mrs. Maddox has been working on him for months. She tells him you're stressed, acting strange, that she's worried. She's very convincing. I rub my face. This wasn't just a setup. It was months of groundwork turning Jackson against me, building a narrative. And when cops found those drugs, every lie would become truth. Sophia pulled a USB drive from her purse. I've been copying files from her laptop for 2 weeks. Every time I cleaned her office, she never locks it, never logs out. She doesn't even see me in the room. She pressed it into my hand, warm from her pocket. What's on it? Emails, 6 months worth, messages between her and Marcus, bank statements. I don't know if it's everything, but it's something. I close my fist around it. Sophia, if they find out, I don't care. Her voice turned fierce. Do you remember my Isabella? Of course. 5 years ago, she needed emergency heart surgery. The insurance denied the claim. $120,000? I was going to lose her. I remembered. Sophia had come to me crying, begging for a loan. I'd written the check that day. $50,000. Everything in savings. Told Daphne it was for a roof repair. She never questioned it. You saved my daughter's life. Sophia's voice cracked. Isabella lived 2 more years. 2 more years I got to hold her, talk to her. She died anyway, the condition was too severe, but those 2 years... You gave me that gift. Now I give you this. You are a good man. Mrs. Maddox is not a good woman. I couldn't speak. I just squeezed her hand across the table. She straightened all business. You can't go home. Can't use credit cards or your phone for anything they can trace. You need somewhere they'd never think to look. I have a place. The cabin. My dad's old hunting cabin near Mount Hood. Daphne had been there once 15 years ago. Hated it, no cell service, no running water. She'd never think I'd go there. Good. Sophia stood. I need to go. My sister's expecting me. But Mr. Maddox, be careful. Marcus isn't just a consultant. I've seen him with dangerous men. He has connections. I will. She started toward her car, then turned back. One more thing. Jackson, I don't think he understands how far they'll go. He thinks this is just a divorce. He doesn't know about the drugs. There might still be a chance to reach him. Maybe. The word felt hollow. Sophia drove away her sedan, disappearing toward Portland. I sat at the picnic table another minute, USB drive, heavy in my pocket, wind cold on my face. Then I got in the Camry and pulled onto Highway 26, heading east into the mountains. The road climbed higher, trees pressing close on both sides. Sophia's words echoed. Jackson doesn't understand how far they'll go. But I did, and now I needed to disappear. I made it 20 miles before I noticed the tail. A black SUV 3 cars back, keeping pace. I'd learned to spot surveillance years ago, working facility security. You watch for the vehicle that matches your rhythm, not your speed. This one had been behind me since the rest stop. My hands tightened on the wheel. Had they followed Sophia? Or had I been careless, too focused on the USB to notice? I took the next exit without signaling. The SUV followed. I was 40 miles east of Portland now, deep into logging country. Towns, sparse houses, even more so. If they wanted to run me off the road, this was the place. I passed the turnoff to the cabin and kept going. Couldn't lead them there. That was my only safe place left. Ahead, a rusted sign, Old West Side Industrial Complex, 2 miles. Abandoned warehouses where a timber company had gone under in the 90s. Buildings still standing, but the place was a ghost town. Perfect. I took the access road, fast gravel spitting under tires. The SUV closed the distance. The complex appeared through trees, 3 massive warehouses, windows broken, parking lots overgrown. I swerved between buildings and slammed the brakes. I grabbed the USB, shoved it in my jacket pocket, and ran. Behind me, tires screeched, doors opened, footsteps pounding. Mr. Maddox, let's talk. I didn't look back. I sprinted for the nearest warehouse, its loading bay door hanging half open, ducked inside. The world went dark. The air smelled like rust and decay. Shapes emerged, old machinery, rotting pallets, metal stairs, to a catwalk overhead. Footsteps echoed outside. 2 men, maybe 3. He went in here, fan out. I moved deeper, stepping around debris. Every footfall felt too loud. Then I saw it, a grate in the floor, partially hidden under collapsed shelving. Maintenance access. These old facilities always had tunnels underneath for utilities. I hauled the shelving aside. The grate came up with a rusty groan. Below, a ladder descended into darkness. No choice. I climbed down and pulled the grate closed just as flashlight beams swept the warehouse floor. The tunnel was narrow, maybe 4 feet high. I crouched using my phone's flashlight. Concrete walls slick with moisture. The smell mold and stagnant air made my stomach turn. Behind me, muffled voices. Then the scrape of the grate opening. He went down. I clicked off my phone and moved by, feel one hand on the wall. The tunnel branched. I took the left fork, then another left, trying to create distance and confusion. Minutes passed. 10, 20. My knees ached from crouching. My jacket soaked through with condensation. But I didn't hear footsteps anymore. I found another ladder and climbed. The hatch at the top was stuck, but I shouldered it open. Emerged in a different warehouse, smaller windows shattered afternoon light, streaming through holes in the roof. I listened. Silence except for wind through broken glass. Yet I checked my phone. 3:47 p.m. I'd been down there 90 minutes. Peering out, I saw the Camry still parked beside the SUV. One man stood near the vehicles talking on a phone. The others nowhere in sight, probably still searching tunnels. I couldn't go back for the car. But the road was a quarter mile through the trees. I slipped out the back and into the woods. The terrain was rough fallen logs, thick underbrush ground, soft from rain. I moved quickly without making noise, angling away from the complex. 20 minutes later, I hit a 2-lane highway, empty both directions. I walked the shoulder thumb out. Third car stopped. Older guy in a pickup country music playing. Didn't ask questions when I said my car broke down. Hop in. I gave him a different name. Paid $20 when he dropped me at a gas station 10 miles up. From there, I found a payphone, hadn't seen one in years, and called an Uber. Paid cash. Gave coordinates 2 miles from the cabin. "You sure?" the driver asked. "There's nothing out there. Meeting someone. They'll pick me up." He shrugged and drove. By the time he dropped me off, the sun was low shadows long through trees. I waited until his taillights disappeared, then hiked the final 2 miles on foot. The cabin appeared as last light bled from the sky, a small structure tucked into a clearing, surrounded by Douglas firs. The roof sagged in places, windows dark, but it was standing. I'd been here twice. Once as a kid when Dad brought me hunting. Once 15 years ago, when I'd thought about selling it and brought Daphne to see if it was worth anything. She'd taken one look, no plumbing, no electricity, miles from civilization, and told me to sell. I'd kept it anyway, paid the property taxes every year, never told her. Now I understood why. I found the spare key under a rock, where Dad always kept it, and let myself in. The door groaned. Inside, cold and stale air. I clicked on my phone's flashlight. Dust coated everything, the old wood stove, the table, 2 cots against the wall. But it was shelter, and it was mine. I locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle, and sank onto one of the cots. For the first time in hours, I let myself breathe. My hands were still shaking. My knees throbbed from crawling through those tunnels. I smelled like rust and mold and fear. But I was alive, and I still had the USB. I pulled it from my pocket and stared at it in the dim glow of my phone. 6 months of emails, proof of what Daphne and Marcus were planning. Maybe enough to save myself. Or maybe just enough to get me killed. Outside, the wind moved through the pines. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called. I closed my eyes and listened to the silence. The cabin smelled of dust and old wood. For the first time in hours, I allowed myself to breathe deeply. But I knew this was just the beginning. Morning light filtered through gaps in the shutters, thin and gray. I'd barely slept, maybe 2 hours in fragments, waking at every sound. But sleep wasn't the priority anymore. I sat at the dusty table, my laptop propped on a stack of old magazines, and plugged in the USB drive Sophia had given me. The folder opened. 317 files. 6 months of emails between Daphne and Marcus Kane. Then I started reading. The first dozen were mundane meeting times, restaurant reservations, inside jokes I didn't understand. Then the tone shifted. February. "We need to be careful. N is asking about the withdrawals. Just as how much longer do we have to pretend?" April. "I want him gone, completely." I kept scrolling, financial documents, bank statements showing transfers I'd never authorized. A contract with a lawyer, Michael Reed, dated 2 months ago. Retainer, $15,000. From our joint account. And then buried near the end, an email from Marcus to Daphne, sent 3 weeks ago. "Package is ready. I'll plant it Monday morning after he leaves for the airport. Once the cops find it, we move fast. Sell the house within 48 hours. Liquidate everything. You'll have full control by the end of the week. Daphne's reply, and Jackson, Marcus, already handled. The kid will testify that his father's been unstable. Between that and the drugs, no court will side with him. You'll be free and clear. I closed the laptop and sat there in the cold silence. Free and clear. They'd planned every detail. The drugs, the testimony, the asset seizure. This wasn't just a divorce. It was an execution. But now I had proof. Proof they'd conspired. Proof of the setup. Proof that might save me if I could use it the right way. I thought about going to the police, walking into a station with the USB and laying it all out. But what would they do? Investigate Daphne and Marcus while I sat in a cell number 1. I needed more than emails. I needed them on record. I needed video, audio, something undeniable. I needed to see what they were doing now. And that meant I had to go back. Not physically, not yet, but I could watch. I'd built that house 12 years ago, installed the electrical and security systems myself. I knew every corner, every blind spot, every vulnerability. If I could get cameras inside, I could monitor them remotely, catch them in the act. But I couldn't buy equipment under my own name, couldn't ship anything to the house, and I sure as hell couldn't install it while Daphne was home. I needed help. I grabbed my phone, still untraceable, and pulled up a contact I hadn't called in years. Henry Walker, neighbor 3 doors down, 63, retired carpenter. We'd shared beers on his porch a few times, helped each other with yard projects. Good man, quiet but solid. Would he help me now, or would he think I'd lost my mind? Only one way to find out. I walked 3 miles into the nearest town, barely more than a gas station, a diner, and a post office. Found a cafe with free Wi-Fi. Ordered coffee I didn't drink and opened my laptop. I created a new email account, something generic, untraceable. Then I spent an hour researching equipment. I needed cameras small enough to hide wireless, so I didn't have to run cables cloud storage so I could access footage remotely. I found a set, 4 mini wireless cameras, motion activated, HD, quality battery powered. Total cost, with overnight shipping, $850. I couldn't use my credit card, but the cafe had an ATM in the corner. I pulled another $1,000 in cash, walked to the post office, bought a prepaid Visa card, and used that to place the order online. Shipping address, Henry Walker, 2142, Skyline Boulevard, Portland, Oregon. Then I used a burner email to send Henry a message through an old carpentry form we'd both used years ago. Vague enough not to raise alarms, clear enough that he'd understand. Henry, it's Trent. I need a favor. A package is coming to your house tomorrow. Don't open it. I'll explain soon. If you're willing to help, leave your porch light on tomorrow night. If not, I understand. Either way, please don't tell Daphne you heard from me. I hit send and closed the laptop. Now I had to wait. Back at the cabin, I spent the afternoon drawing. I pulled out a notebook and sketched the layout of 2156 Skyline Boulevard from memory. Every room, every angle, every sightline. Living room camera behind the picture frame over the couch. Perfect view of the front door and the seating area where Daphne and Marcus would talk. Master bedroom camera tucked into the bookshelf. If they were sleeping together, I'd have proof. Daphne's office camera inside the desk lamp. She did all her financial work there. If she was moving money, I'd see it. Garage camera mounted in the corner near the tool bench. That's where they'd parked when Marcus planted the drugs. If they came back, I'd catch it. 4 cameras, 4 critical points. Enough to build a case. I labeled each location, noted the best installation times, mapped out how I'd get in and out without being seen. The security system I'd installed had a 30-second delay on the garage side door, enough time to slip in if I knew the code. Which I did. I'd set it. The hardest part would be timing. I'd need Daphne and Marcus both out of the house. Maybe when Daphne went to work if Marcus wasn't there. Or late at night when they were asleep. Risky, but possible. I stared at the blueprint, every line familiar. I designed that house, framed it, wired it, built the deck where Jackson used to play as a kid. It was mine. And now I was planning to break into it like a stranger. The sun dropped lower shadows stretching across the cabin floor. I thought about Henry, about whether he'd help or turn me in, about whether I was putting him in danger just by asking. But I didn't have a choice. I couldn't do this alone. I folded the blueprint and tucked it into my jacket. Tomorrow, if Henry's porch light was on, I'd know I had an ally. If not, I'd figure out another way. I looked at the sketch one more time. The house I'd built with my own hands, the life I'd thought was solid. Tomorrow I'd start watching. And I'd see exactly what my wife was planning. Over the next 2 days, I watched everything. Every conversation, every lie, every moment I'd been blind to. Henry's porch light had been on. The night after I sent the message, I'd driven into town and glassed his house from 2 blocks away with borrowed binoculars. The light glowed warm. He was in. The package arrived the next afternoon. 2 hours after dark, Henry left it on his back porch with a note: garage side door. Code still the same. It was. I'd installed a backup entry during construction, a failsafe Daphne didn't know existed. Now it was my way back in. I waited until 11:30 p.m. Daphne's bedroom light had been off for an hour. No cars in the driveway except hers. I parked 4 blocks away and walked through backyards. Henry met me at his fence, handed me the box without a word, just a nod. I mouthed, "Thank you," and disappeared. The side door opened silently. 30-second delay. I punched in the code, my birthday, the one Daphne never changed, and slipped inside. The house smelled the same, coffee and lemon cleaner, but it felt foreign now, like trespassing in someone else's life. 4 cameras, 4 locations. I'd memorized the plan. Living room. I tucked the first camera behind the picture frame over the couch. View of the front door, the seating area. Office inside the base of Daphne's desk lamp angled out. She'd never notice. Bedroom behind, books on the top shelf angled toward the bed. Garage corner mount behind an old bike helmet. 45 minutes. I was out by 12:15 a.m. Code reset, door locked. Back at the cabin, I connected to the cloud storage. All 4 feeds came online. Green lights. I exhaled for the first time in hours. Now I could watch. The first footage came through the next morning. I sat at the table laptop, open coffee going cold as I scrolled. 8:47 a.m. Daphne in the kitchen on her phone. "I don't know where he is, Marcus. He hasn't come home." Marcus's voice through the speaker. "Good. That means the plan worked. He's probably in a holding cell, or he ran. Either way, he's finished." Daphne laughed. "I almost feel bad. 23 years, and this is how it ends." "Don't. You said it yourself, he was holding you back. We're free now." They talked for 5 more minutes. Plans to list the house, move money, have Jackson come home early to make a statement about my erratic behavior. I watched Daphne smile as she hung up, watched her pour more coffee like she hadn't just dismantled my life. I saved the file and kept watching. 2:14 p.m. Daphne in her office. She opened a drawer and pulled out a small bottle, unmarked, no label, unscrewed the cap, poured drops into a coffee mug, added cream, stirred. I zoomed in. The liquid was clear, slightly viscous. My phone buzzed. Sophia. "Mr. Maddox, did you see the footage?" "I'm watching now. What is that bottle?" "That's what I needed to tell you. I was a nurse in Mexico for 15 years. I recognize it. She keeps it hidden in the bathroom cabinet. I've seen her use it before." My chest tightened. "Use it for what?" "For you. Every morning she made your coffee, yes." I thought back. "Yeah." For months, Daphne had insisted on bringing me coffee before work, said it was quality time. What's in it? I'm not certain without testing, but from the dosage. I think it's a hallucinogen, mild long-term. It would make you seem unstable. Memory problems, mood swings, perfect for a custody case. The room tilted. "She's been drugging me?" "I think so, for months. I took a sample last week and sent it to a lab. Results should come in a few days." I stared at the screen, at Daphne calmly stirring poison into my coffee. "How long?" "I first noticed the bottle 6 months ago." 6 months, every morning. No wonder I'd felt foggy lately, forgetful. I'd thought it was stress age, but it was her, building a case that I was losing my mind. "Thank you, Sophia. Be careful. If she realizes you know." "I will." I hung up and kept watching. 6:18 p.m. Daphne in the living room. FaceTime. Jackson's name on the screen. She answered, smiling. "Hi, sweetheart." Jackson appeared, tired, stressed. "Mom, I've been thinking, are we sure about this? About Dad?" Daphne's smile didn't falter. "Jackson, we've talked about this. Your father's been unwell for a long time. You just didn't see it." "I know, but I don't remember him being that bad." "That's because he hid it well, but I've been living with it. The mood swings, the paranoia. I'm scared, Jackson." Jackson hesitated, then slowly nodded. "Okay, if you say so." "I do. Once this is over, we can start fresh. You, me, and Marcus. A real family." Jackson's face flickered something I couldn't read. Doubt. But then he forced a smile. "Yeah. Okay. I love you, sweetheart." "Love you too, Mom." The screen went dark. I sat there staring at the frozen image of my son's face. 22 years old. The kid I'd taught to ride a bike, throw a curveball, change a tire. And he believed her. I thought about all the moments I'd missed. The times I'd worked late, focused on building the business, providing for the family. I'd thought I was being a good father. giving them security stability. But somewhere along the way, Daphne had filled the space I left empty. She'd rewritten the narrative, made herself the victim, and me, the villain. And Jackson, away at school only hearing her side, he didn't stand a chance. I remembered something from years ago. Jackson was maybe 10. We were in the garage working on his bike. He had asked me, "Dad, how do you know who to trust?" I'd told him, "You trust the people who show up, the ones who keep their promises." I'd shown up for 18 years. Every game, every recital, every parent-teacher conference I could make. But these last few years, I'd been stretched thin, working double shifts to keep the business afloat after the recession, missing dinners, missing calls. And Daphne had been there whispering in his ear, "Your father's changing, your father's unstable, your father doesn't care." She'd played the long game, and she'd won. I closed the laptop and sat in the darkness of the cabin. The wind moved through the pines outside. Somewhere distant, an owl called. My hands were shaking again. I'd lost my wife, lost my home. And now watching that footage, I understood the cruelest truth. I'd lost my son long before any of this started. The question wasn't when I'd lost him. The question was, could I ever get him back? A memory hit me. Jackson at 10, racing his bike down Skyline Boulevard, laughing so hard he could barely keep his hands on the handlebars. I was staring at the laptop, but I wasn't seeing the footage anymore. I was seeing that kid, sun-bleached hair, scraped knees, gap-toothed grin, fearless. Believed his old man could fix anything. When had that changed? Jackson at 10, sitting in the garage while I taught him to true a bent rim. He'd crashed jumping a homemade ramp, thought he was Evil Knievel. The wheel looked toast, but those big eyes got me. "Can't you fix it, Dad? You can fix anything." So I did. 2 hours with a spoke wrench showing him tension and alignment. He asked 100 questions. When we finished, he hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Thanks, Dad. You're the best." Jackson at 14, hands covered in grease, learning to change a tire on the F-150. He'd complained at first, wanted to play video games, but by the end he was grinning proud. We got Dairy Queen after. He told me about a girl at school, asked if she'd notice him if he got better at skateboarding. I'd told him she'd be crazy not to. Jackson at 18, graduation day, cap and gown, diploma in hand. I stood and cheered louder than any parent there. Daphne told me to sit down, embarrassed, but Jackson grinned, rolled his eyes. "You're such a dad." Then he hugged me, quick and tight the way 18-year-old boys do when they still love their fathers but won't admit it. "Thanks for everything, Dad. I mean it." Those memories felt like knives now, because that kid, the one who'd trusted me, looked up to me, was gone, replaced by the young man who wouldn't meet my eyes at the airport, who walked away without a hug, who was about to testify I was unstable. I opened the laptop again. I needed to understand how Daphne had done it. Yeah, I scrolled back, found footage from 2 weeks ago. 7:32 p.m. Daphne in her office phone to ear. FaceTime. Jackson's face on screen. "Mom, I don't know. This feels wrong." Daphne's voice was soft, soothing. "Jackson, I know this is hard, but your father, he's not the man you remember." "What do you mean?" "He's been changing. The mood swings, the anger. Last week he yelled at me for moving money. It scared me." I paused. That was a lie. I'd asked about withdrawals calmly, quietly, never yelled. But Jackson didn't know that. He was 800 miles away, hearing only her side. I hit play. Jackson frowned. "Dad yelled at you." "He did. And Jackson." Her voice dropped. "I think he might be having a breakdown. I'm worried about what he might do." "Do you think he'd hurt you?" "I don't know. I hope not. But I can't take that chance." Jackson's face tightened. "Mom, if you're not safe, that's why I need you to trust me. If this goes to court, I need you to be honest about what you've seen." "But I haven't seen..." "You've seen him withdraw, pull away, obsess over work. That's not normal. That's a man losing control." Jackson looked uncertain, but slowly he nodded. "Okay. If you really think..." "I do. I love you, sweetheart." The call ended. I sat there sick. She was good. Every word carefully chosen. She'd painted me as a threat without ever saying I'd hurt her. Let Jackson fill in the blanks himself. And he had... I kept scrolling, found another clip from a week ago. Daphne and Marcus in the living room, late at night. Marcus was pacing. "What about Jackson? Does he know about the setup?" Daphne shook her head. "God, no. Jackson would never agree to that. He still thinks his father hung the moon." "Then why's he going along with the testimony? In weeks. Der bästa Sandbaptis. Because he thinks this is just a divorce. A bad one, but normal. He doesn't know about the drugs. He doesn't know we're taking everything." Daphne sipped wine. "And he won't." The less Jackson knows, the easier this is. What if Trent contacts him? He won't. Trent's too proud. He'll think Jackson chose me and he'll walk away. She smiled. That's who he is, martyr complex. I closed the laptop. Jackson didn't know. Didn't know about the drugs in my truck. Didn't know about the hidden money. Didn't know Marcus had orchestrated everything. He thought this was a normal divorce. Thought his mother was scared and his father was falling apart. And that made it worse, because Jackson wasn't a villain. He was a victim. Daphne had weaponized his love, used his distance, his time away at school to rewrite everything. And Jackson, trusting his mother the way kids do, had believed every word. I thought about the airport, the way he wouldn't look at me, the coldness. He hadn't been angry, he'd been sad, maybe guilty. He thought he was protecting his mom from a man who was unraveling. I walked to the cabin window. The trees were dark against fading light. Somewhere out there, my son was sitting in a dorm room believing a lie that was tearing us apart. But he didn't know it was a lie, which meant maybe there was still a chance. If I could reach him, show him the truth before Daphne poisoned him further, prove I wasn't the monster she'd made me out to be. I looked back at the laptop, at the evidence I'd been gathering. This wasn't just about saving myself anymore. It was about saving my son. I pulled out my phone and stared at Jackson's contact. My thumb hovered over the call button, but I didn't press it, not yet. Calling now desperate and on the run would only confirm everything Daphne said, that I was unstable, out of control. Number one, I needed more. Proof so undeniable that even Daphne's lies couldn't stand against it. Then I'd bring my son home. I set the phone down and opened the laptop again. Jackson didn't know the truth, but he would, and maybe that meant I could still reach him. The answer came 3 days into my surveillance. One email changed everything I thought I knew. I'd been sorting through the USB Sophia gave me building timelines from Daphne and Marcus's correspondence. Then I found a subfolder I'd missed, MK-KF correspondence, 83 emails, Marcus Kane and Jackson Maddox. The first was dated 3 months ago, April 2nd, from Marcus Kane. Subject checking. In Jackson, your mom mentioned you've been stressed. College is tough. If you need someone to talk to someone outside the family drama, I'm here. No judgment. Marcus. I stared at the screen. Marcus had positioned himself as Jackson's ally. April 12th, Jackson's reply. Thanks. Yeah, things have been rough. I made some mistakes, gotten over my head with something I can't talk about. I'm trying to handle it on my own. Jackson, April 15th, Marcus again. I've been in tight spots before. If it's financial, I have resources. Whatever it is, I won't tell your parents. Let me know. M Financial. The next email had an attachment, jm_debt_summary.pdf. I opened it. Offshore gambling site. Total outstanding balance $80,000. Jackson's name at the top. 8 months of transactions. Small bets becoming bigger losses. $80,000. My son had been drowning and I hadn't known. April 20th. Marcus's pitch. I saw the statement. I can make this go away. I have connections who can erase debt like this if the right incentives are in place. But I need you to do something for me in return. M. April 28th. Jackson asked the question that sealed everything. What do you need me to do? Jackson Marcus replied within an hour. Your parents are going through a rough patch. Your mom's scared of your dad's mood swings, his paranoia. If things go to court, she needs someone who can speak honestly about what they've seen. You don't have to lie. Just tell the truth about how your father's been changing. In exchange, I'll take care of your debt. $20,000 up front. The rest after everything's settled. Sound fair. M. I felt sick. Marcus had found Jackson's weakness and exploited it. May 6th. Jackson hesitated. I don't know. This feels wrong. My dad's been distant but unstable. That's a strong word. Jackson Marcus's reply was cold. Think about what's at stake. That debt. The people you owe won't wait forever. They're already asking questions. When they come collecting, they won't be polite. I'm offering you a way out. $20,000. Wired tomorrow. Just say yes. M. The next attachment, bank transfer confirmation. $20,000 sent to Jackson's account. May 7th. Marcus had paid him. May 15th. Jackson tried to back out. I've been thinking about this. I'm not sure I can go through with it. My dad and I haven't been close, but he's still my dad. I don't want to be the reason he loses everything. Can we talk? Jackson Marcus's response was ice. You took $20,000. That money's already gone to pay your debt. If you back out now, I can't protect you. The people you owe will come for you. They won't care that you're a college kid who made a mistake. You're in this now. The only way out is through. Don't let us down. M. The last email. 2 weeks ago, June 4th, I'm in. But I hate this. Jackson? I closed the laptop. Jackson wasn't a villain. He was a victim. A 22-year-old who'd made bad choices, gotten desperate, and been manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to weaponize shame and fear. Marcus had paid Jackson just enough to make him complicit, then threatened him into compliance. And Jackson, believing he was protecting his mother from a man who was falling apart, had agreed. Because he didn't know the truth, didn't know about the drugs in my truck, didn't know about the affair, didn't know this was all a conspiracy to destroy me. He thought this was just a messy divorce. He had no idea he was helping them commit fraud. I thought about calling him right now, telling him everything. But he'd think I was paranoid. Exactly what Daphne had conditioned him to believe. No, I needed proof he couldn't deny. I saved every email, every transfer, every threat. Marcus had thrown Jackson an anchor disguised as a life preserver. My son wasn't the enemy. He was another victim in their plan. I stared at Jackson's last message. I'm in. But I hate this. He hated it. Part of him knew this was wrong, which meant maybe I could still reach him. But first I needed more than emails on a USB drive. I needed to know how deep Marcus's network went. How many others he'd manipulated this way. I needed someone who could dig deeper than I could alone. I needed help. Real help. Tomorrow I'd make the call. But tonight I sat in the cabin's darkness and grieved for my son, not lost to betrayal, but to fear and manipulation. Jackson had been trapped, used, and I'd been too blind to see it. The question now wasn't whether I could forgive him. The question was, could I save us both? I needed help, real help, someone who could dig deeper than I ever could. Chris Manning. We'd met 12 years ago. On a job site he was installing network infrastructure. I was wiring the building. We'd stayed in touch. He'd helped me set up the security system at the house. Freelance IT specialist. 35 sharp as hell. The kind of guy who asked questions only when he needed to. I walked 3 miles into town, found the cafe with Wi-Fi, created a new email account, and sent Chris a message. Chris, it's Trent. I need your help. Can't explain over email. Call this number if you're willing to talk. I included the burner number and hit send. 20 minutes later, the phone buzzed. Trent. Chris's voice was cautious. Where the hell are you? Daphne called me last week asking if I'd heard from you. My chest tightened. What did you tell her? Nothing. Said I hadn't talked to you in months. A pause. What's going on? I need you to access my wife's email and financial accounts. Silence. Then, Jesus, Trent, that's not gray. That's illegal. I know, but she's been setting me up. Planted drugs in my truck, been drugging me, planning to take everything. I have some proof, but I need more. Send me what you have. If you're telling the truth, I'll help. I emailed him footage clips, email, screenshots, the photo of the drug package with Marcus's initials. 10 minutes later, Chris called back. Holy shit, this is real. Yeah. Okay, I'm in. What do you need? Everything. Her emails, bank records, texts. Anything that shows what she and Marcus Kane have been planning. Give me 24 hours. Chris, if they find out, they won't. I know how to stay invisible. The next 24 hours crawled. I watched camera feeds, took notes, couldn't sleep. My mind spun through scenarios. What if Chris got caught? What if Daphne realized someone was accessing her accounts? But at 8:47 p.m. the next night, my phone buzzed. I'm sending you a file now, encrypted. Password is your dad's birthday. The file downloaded over 2 gigabytes. Inside folders, hundreds of them. Daphne Marcus emails, financial records, text messages, legal documents. I started with the emails. Over 500 messages spanning 6 months. 4 months ago, Daphne to Marcus. I want him gone, completely. No alimony, no custody fights. Just gone. Marcus, that's going to take planning, and it's not cheap. Daphne, I don't care. I'll pay whatever it takes. 3 months ago, Marcus sent a detailed plan. Drug setup, financial manipulation, Jackson's testimony, timeline for asset liquidation. Daphne's response, perfect. When do we start? Mês. One more as Betrayals. 2 months ago, Marcus to Daphne. I've made contact with Jackson. The kid's in deep with gambling debts. I can use that. Daphne, how much? Marcus, 80 grand. I'll pay off 20, tell him I'll cover the rest after the divorce. Daphne, you're sure you won't tell Trent spurt? Marcus, the kid's too ashamed, and I've made sure he thinks Trent would never forgive him. They'd been planning this together, using Jackson like a chess piece. I opened the financial records next. Transfers I'd never authorized. $47,500 moved from our joint account to Daphne's private account. 3 weeks ago, another $20,000 to Marcus's account. 2 months ago, the same money he'd gifted Jackson. She'd used my money to buy my son's cooperation. Legal documents, a contract with Michael Reed, $15,000 retainer, dated 2 months ago, from our joint account. Notes, prepare defamation case. Establish pattern of erratic behavior. Testimony from spouse and son should be sufficient for emergency custody and asset freeze. Then I saw it, buried in another folder. A psychiatric evaluation form, partially filled out. My name at the top. Patient Trent Maddox. Preliminary diagnosis. Paranoid personality disorder with depressive episodes. Recommendation, mandatory psychiatric hold for evaluation. Not signed yet, but Daphne had been preparing it. Not just divorced, not just broke. Locked up. I closed the laptop and sat in darkness. They'd planned everything. The drugs to make me seem unstable, the money transfers, Jackson's testimony, the psychiatric hold to strip away any credibility I had left. If they'd succeeded, I'd be in a cell right now jail or psych ward, while Daphne liquidated everything and disappeared with Marcus. I scrolled to the most recent emails. 2 days ago. Marcus to Daphne. Still no sign of him. He's either arrested or gone underground. Daphne. I'm getting nervous. What if he has evidence? Marcus. He doesn't. And even if he did, who'd believe him? Paranoid husband drugs in his truck family, testifying against him. He's finished. I stared at that line. He's finished. I started copying files. Every email, every bank statement, every piece of evidence. Then I called Chris back. Did you get everything? Yeah, it's worse than I thought. I know. His voice was grim. Trent, you need to take this to the police, tonight. Not yet. I need one more thing. What? Access to Marcus Kane's communications. If he's as connected as I think, there's more. Chris was quiet. That's harder. He's more careful than Daphne, but I'll try. Thank you. Trent, be careful. These people aren't playing games. Neither am I. I hung up and looked at the screen, at the evidence stacking up, at the conspiracy laid bare. They'd wanted me gone, erased, destroyed, but I was still here, and now I had everything I needed to bury them. The next batch of emails was the hardest to read. Not because of what they said about me, because of what they revealed about my son. 48 hours after my last call with Chris, he delivered. Another encrypted file, 700 megabytes. 3 folders, Marcus Jackson, emails, Marcus Daphne, planning docs, Marcus financial records. I opened the first folder. 83 messages spanning 3 months. A slow, methodical grooming. April 2nd, the first contact. From Marcus Kane, subject just checking in. Jackson, your mom mentioned you've been stressed. College is tough. If you need someone to talk to outside all the family stuff, I'm here. No judgment, Marcus. Innocent, planting a seed. 10 days later, Jackson bit. From Jackson Maddox, subject, we're just checking in. Thanks. Things are rough. Made some bad calls. Got in over my head. Trying to fix it myself. Jackson. Marcus waited 2 days before replying. Long enough for Jackson to stew. Short enough to seem concerned. From Marcus Kane. Subject, I've been there. We've all screwed up. The difference between drowning and surviving. Knowing when to ask for help. If it's money, I know people. Just say the word. Emmy. Jackson didn't respond for 4 days. Then he cracked. From Jackson Maddox, subject no subject. It's bad. Really bad. Marcus pounced within an hour. From Marcus Kane, subject how bad. Send me the details. Whatever it is, it's fixable. M. Jackson attached the gambling debt summary. $80,000. April 20th. Marcus shifted from friend to savior. From Marcus Kane, subject I can make this disappear. Jackson 80 grand is serious, but not insurmountable. I have connections people who can erase this kind of debt if the situation is handled correctly. I make this problem vanish. Completely. In exchange, you help your mom through a difficult situation. Interested M. Jackson's response 2 days later was cautious. From Jackson Maddox, subject what kind of help? What does help my mom mean, Jackson? Marcus's reply was a masterclass in manipulation. From Marcus Kane, subject just honesty. Your mom's going through hell. Your dad's mood swings is paranoia. She's scared. If things escalate legally, She'll need someone to corroborate what's happening. You don't have to lie. Just tell the truth about what you've observed, how he's been pulling away, acting erratic. For that I pay off $20,000 now. The remaining 60 after your mom's situation is resolved. Fair M. April 28th. Jackson agreed. From Jackson Maddox, subject read just honesty. Okay, but I'm only saying what I've actually seen. I'm not making anything up. Jackson. Marcus confirmed the transfer the same day. $20,000. Then came the attachments. May 3rd. Marcus sent 3 files. Mugshots, criminal records, a news article about a loan shark beating in Seattle. From Marcus Kane, subject FYI, who you owe. Jackson, just so you understand the stakes. These are the guys your debt was sold to. Nasty people. That 20 grand I sent, that bought you time. But if you back out now, I can't protect you. They'll come looking, and they don't negotiate. M. The photos were brutal. Assault convictions. Armed robbery. One man had a scar across his jaw that looked like it had been opened with a knife. Jackson didn't respond for a week. May 10th. His tone had shifted. From Jackson Maddox, subject I don't know about this. Marcus. I've been thinking, my dad's distant, yeah, but unstable. I don't know if I can say that. It feels wrong. Jackson. Marcus's reply came within 30 minutes. No more friendly tone. From Marcus Kane, subject think very carefully. Jackson, you took $20,000. That money's already been applied to your debt. If you walk away now, 2 things happen. 1, your creditors find out the payment plan fell through. They send their collectors. 2, your dad finds out you took money to testify against him. How do you think that conversation goes? You're in this. The only way out is forward. Emmy. Jackson tried once more. May 23rd. From Jackson Maddox. Subject can we talk? I can't do this. I'm sorry. I'll figure out another way to pay you back. Jackson. Marcus's response was a hammer. From Marcus Kane's subject final warning. You signed paperwork. You accepted payment. You agreed to cooperate. If you back out, I'll make sure everyone knows you sold out your father for cash and then chickened out. Your mom, your dad, your school, everyone. You think your dad's disappointed in you now. Wait until he finds out his son tried to frame him for money. There's no other way. You testify we finish this and you walk away clean. Or you bail and I bury you. Your choice. Emma. The last email, 2 weeks ago. June 4th. From Jackson Maddox. Subject no subject. I'm in, but I hate this. Jackson. I sat back, laptop glowing in the dark. My hands shook, not from cold, from rage. Marcus hadn't just blackmailed my son. He'd hunted him. Identified his weakness. Built trust. Applied pressure. Closed the trap. Jackson had been 19 when he started gambling. Probably thought he could control it. By the time the debt hit $80,000, he was paralyzed with shame. Too scared to tell me. Too desperate to say no when Marcus offered a way out. And Marcus had counted on that. He'd sent those mugshots not because Jackson's creditors were dangerous, but because fear was the most effective control mechanism. Those photos made the threat feel real. Then Marcus had boxed him in. You took the money. You're complicit. If you back out, everyone knows. Jackson had been trapped from the moment he replied to that first email. I thought about the airport, the way Jackson couldn't meet my eyes. He hadn't been angry. He'd been drowning in guilt. I opened the second folder, Marcus Daphne planning docs. One email stopped me cold. From Daphne Maddox to Marcus Kane, subject Jackson. Does Jackson know about the setup? The drugs V. Marcus's reply, God, no. Jackson would never agree to that. He still thinks his father hung the moon. Keep him in the dark. The less he knows, the easier this is. M. Jackson didn't know about the cocaine in my truck. Didn't know about the plan to liquidate assets. Didn't know about the affair. He thought he was helping his mother escape an unstable husband. He was a pawn. I scrolled to the financial records. Transfers, payments, a pattern emerged. Marcus had done this before. Other names, other debts, other sons and daughters manipulated the same way. 3 cases in the past 2 years. Same playbook. Find someone vulnerable, offer help, demand cooperation, threaten exposure. This wasn't opportunism. This was Marcus's business model. I saved everything. Every email, every threat, every transaction. Jackson wasn't my enemy. He was another victim. And now I had proof. I stared at the final message. I'm in, but I hate this. He hated it. That meant somewhere buried under the fear and shame my son was still in there, still reachable. I closed the laptop and sat in the silence. Marcus had taken everything from me. My wife, my home, my son's trust. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to take it all back. But tonight I let the rage settle into something sharper, something focused. Marcus Kane had built a career destroying families. Now I was going to destroy him. By day 7, the story went viral. Not because I wanted it to, because the truth has a way of spreading on its own. I hadn't planned on going public, not yet. But Sophia had other ideas. Day 7 morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophia's sister's number. Mr. Maddox, I posted something. I hope you don't mind. People need to know. S. I opened Facebook on my laptop. Sophia had posted in a local community group, Portland Metro Neighbors and Friends, 12,000 members. The post was careful. No real names, but enough detail that anyone paying attention would recognize the players. Sophia's post. I worked for a family for 10 years. Good people. Or so I thought. The wife is having an affair with a consultant. Together, they framed the husband, planted drugs in his truck, drugged his coffee for months, manipulated their son into testifying against him. They planned to steal everything and have him committed to a psych ward. I have proof, emails, bank transfers, video footage. This man is innocent, and he's running for his life because no one will believe him. She'd attached a single screenshot, an email from Daphne to Marcus, date visible, subject line. Once he's arrested, we move fast. Within 6 hours, the post had 523 shares. Comments poured in. Who is this someone needs to call the police? This is insane. If this is real, that woman belongs in prison. I think I know who this is. If it's the family I'm thinking of, the husband is a good man. I've met him. Then 2 hours later, a comment that made my chest tighten. Henry Walker, I know exactly who this is, and I'm standing with him. Henry, my neighbor, the man who'd helped me without asking questions, now publicly declaring his support. Replies flooded his comment. Henry, is this the guy 3 doors down from you? The one with the blue F-150? I always liked that guy, quiet but solid. The story was out. Not the whole truth yet, but enough to make people pay attention. That afternoon, Chris called. Trent, I did something. Don't be mad. What did you do? I built a blog, anonymous, posted the evidence. Emails, footage, bank records, everything we have. It's called A Father's Fight. My stomach dropped. Chris, it's already live, and it's spreading fast. I pulled up the site. Clean design, simple layout, a single post titled The Truth About Daphne Maddox and Marcus Kane. The post laid it all out. Timeline, evidence, screenshots of the $47,500 transfer, photos of the unmarked drug bottle, clips from the security footage, Daphne smiling in the driveway, Marcus planting the package. At the bottom, a note. This man is innocent. His wife and her lover framed him. His son was manipulated. If you know Daphne Maddox or Marcus Kane, share this. The truth deserves to be heard. I checked the view count. 3,800 views, 412 comments. Most were supportive. This is horrifying. I hope this man gets justice. Daphne Maddox should be ashamed. If this is real, she's a monster. I know Marcus Kane, always thought he was sketchy, but some were skeptical. Where's the proof this is real? Anyone can fake emails. This could be a smear campaign. We don't know the full story. I scrolled through reading every word. Some people doubted. Most believed. And that was enough. By evening, the blog had been shared on Twitter, Reddit, local news forums. The view count climbed past 5,000. Someone had tagged a Portland news station. KGW8 News. Any truth to this story circulating about a local family seems credible. The cameras were moving in my direction now. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt exposed. At 8:47 p.m., the living room camera caught movement. Daphne pacing, phone pressed to her ear. Marcus on speaker. Everything's online. Thousands of people have seen it. Her voice was shrill, panicked. The emails, the bank transfers, the footage, all of it. Marcus's voice came through calm, too calm. Then we move faster. What does that mean? It means we finish this before the police get involved. We find Trent. We control the narrative. He's unstable, remember, paranoid. Delusional. This blog, it's exactly what a man having a breakdown would do. Daphne exhaled shakily. What if people believe him? They won't. Not if we move now. Call your lawyer. Tell him Trent's been making threats. Say you're scared. File a restraining order. By tomorrow morning, he'll be the one they're looking for, not us. And Jackson stays out of it. The kid doesn't know anything. Keep him in the dark. The call ended. Daphne sat on the couch staring at her phone. For a moment she looked small, frightened. Then she pulled up her contacts and started dialing. I saved the footage and sent it to Chris. Post this, now. 20 minutes later, it was live. A new update on the blog, Daphne Maddox panics caught on camera. The clip spread even faster than the first post. By midnight, the blog had 12,000 views, 800 comments. News outlets were picking it up. PDX Scanner, developing viral story, alleges drug planting financial fraud in local family dispute. Police investigating. I sat in the cabin, laptop open, watching the numbers climb. Sophia texted again. Mr. Maddox, people are talking. They believe you. You're not alone. I read the comments. Strangers defending me. Neighbors I'd never spoken to vouching for my character. People sharing the blog, demanding justice. Henry Walker posted again. I've known Trent Maddox for 5 years. He's a good man. If Daphne and Marcus did this, they need to be held accountable. Replies. Thank you for speaking up, Henry. We need more people like you. Justice for Trent. I stared at the screen. For 7 days I'd been hiding, running, isolated. Now thousands of people knew my story, and most of them believed me. The truth was out, spreading faster than Daphne could contain. I'd shattered her lies in a single day. But desperate people are dangerous. And Daphne and Marcus. They were about to get very desperate. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. The wind moved through the pines outside. My phone buzzed with notifications, shares, comments, messages of support. I wasn't alone anymore. But the fight was just beginning. Tomorrow they'd come for me. I knew that. The question was, would I be ready? Everything is about to explode. If you want to see how I finally confronted them, live in front of thousands, leave a comment below right now and stay with me. One quick note before we continue, the next part includes dramatized elements and narrative adjustments that may not fully reflect real events. If this isn't for you, feel free to stop watching here. I needed backup. If I was going to confront them, I couldn't do it alone. I called Henry Walker. The phone rang twice. Trent. Henry, I saw your comment. I read the blog, all of it. His voice was steady. What do you need? I need help, real help, if you're willing. I'm in. Tell me where you are. I gave him directions. He didn't hesitate. I'll be there tomorrow morning, early. Henry. Trent, I've known you 5 years. You've never asked me for anything. Now you're asking. That's enough. The line went dead. I sat in the dark, phone in hand. For the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. Morning came cold and gray. I was nursing instant coffee when tires crunched gravel. Henry's pickup rolled into the clearing. He climbed out 63 lean work boots caked in mud. Toolbox in one hand, paper bag in the other. Brought sandwiches. Figured you weren't eating much. I took the bag. Turkey and Swiss. My throat tightened. Thanks. Henry set the toolbox down. What's the plan? I showed him everything. The footage, the emails, the financial records. He watched in silence. When the last clip finished Daphne and Marcus plotting, he sat back. That woman's a snake. I need more. I need them confessing on camera. Something law enforcement can't ignore. Henry nodded. More cameras. 3 more, small, good audio. Where? I pulled out the blueprint. Kitchen where she makes calls. Master bathroom, she keeps a burner phone in there. Garage, Marcus uses the side door. Henry studied the sketch. When? This afternoon, 4 p.m. Daphne has yoga, 2 hours. Marcus won't show until after dark. You're sure? I've been watching their patterns all week. Henry stood. Then we need equipment. We drove 40 minutes to a retailer outside Gresham. Bought 3 mini cameras, high-def motion activated. $850 cash. The cashier barely looked up. By 3:30 p.m., we were 4 blocks from Skyline Boulevard. At 3:52 p.m., Daphne's sedan pulled out. I watched her turn downtown. I texted Henry. Now? We met at the side gate. I punched the code, still my birthday, and we slipped inside. The house smelled like coffee and lemon cleaner. It felt like enemy territory now. Henry moved fast. No wasted motion. Kitchen. I tucked the camera inside the microwave vent angled toward the counter. Master bathroom. Henry installed the second behind the decorative mirror. Perfect view of the vanity. Garage. I mounted the third in the rafters behind a paint can. View of the side door and workbench. 18 minutes, in and out. Back at the cabin, I connected all 7 feeds. Green lights. Henry leaned over my shoulder. Now we wait. 7:14 p.m. Daphne's car pulled in. I watched her walk inside, drop her gym bag, check her phone. Then she dialed. Kitchen camera caught everything. Marcus, we need to meet tonight. Marcus's voice through speaker. What's wrong? The blog. Police called today. They're asking questions. They want bank records. What did you tell them? I told them Trent's been threatening me, that he's unstable. I filed a restraining order this afternoon. Good, that buys us time. Time for what? The whole city's seen that blog. Then we finish this, tonight. I'll be there at 9. Daphne poured wine. Her hands shook. I saved the clip. 9:03 p.m. Garage camera picked up movement. Marcus, black jacket, ball cap. He slipped through the side door. Daphne met him in the kitchen, all 7 cameras watching. Did anyone see you? No, parked 2 blocks over. What do we do? Marcus leaned against the counter. We stick to the plan. The package is still in his truck. PDX level 3. Cops find it, we give an anonymous tip. Trent gets arrested, this goes away. Daphne shook her head. But the blog makes him look desperate, paranoid. Exactly what we've been saying. His own evidence works against him. And Jackson? Jackson testifies, just like we planned. The kid's in too deep to back out. Daphne looked down. I didn't think it would get this complicated. Marcus smiled. It's only complicated if we panic. Stay calm, follow through, and in 2 weeks this is over. You'll have the house, the accounts, Trent in a cell. What about the cameras? The footage, SCs. It's fake. Our lawyer says Trent doctored the videos. Deep fake. No court will accept it. Daphne nodded slowly. Okay. Marcus pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Trust me, I've done this before. I froze. Daphne pulled back. What do you mean? Marcus shrugged. I've helped people clean up messy situations. This isn't my first rodeo. How many times? Does it matter? Daphne stared. Doubt flickered across her face. Then she looked away. No, I guess not. They talked another 30 minutes. Details, timeline, contingencies. Every word recorded. At 11:06 p.m., Marcus left. Daphne locked the door and poured more wine. I sat back, Henry beside me. They just confessed, he said quietly. Yeah. 7 cameras, 2 hours of footage, every crime laid bare. Daphne admitting false restraining order, Marcus confirming drugs planted, both discussing framing me, manipulating Jackson, covering tracks. It was over. I had everything. Henry looked at me. You calling the police? Not yet. Then what? I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Jackson's contact. My thumb hovered. I need to call my son first. Henry nodded. He deserves to know. I stared at Jackson's name. 22 years old, 800 miles away, believing his father was dangerous. I hit dial. Once, twice. Jackson answered. Dad, his voice uncertain, guarded, cracked something inside me. Jackson, I need you to listen. I need you to hear the whole truth. Silence. And then I need you to come home. The message came through on day 9, 5:17 p.m. From Jackson Maddox's dad. Can we meet? I need to explain everything. Please. I stared at the screen. My hand shook. Jackson, my son, reaching out. I called immediately. He picked up on the first ring. Dad. His voice cracked. I hadn't heard him sound like that since he was 12. Jackson, where are you? Portland. I flew in this morning. I'm at a hotel near PDX. Mom doesn't know I'm here. My chest tightened. Why did you come back? Silence. Then quietly, because I saw the blog. I closed my eyes. Hey, Dad, I need to tell you everything, in person. Can we meet? Where? Anywhere you want. I need you to hear my side. I thought about the cabin, isolated, safe, but also 2 hours from the city. There's a diner off Highway 26, mile marker 42, Sunrise Cafe. Can you be there in an hour? Yeah, I'll be there. Jackson, Dad, I'm so sorry. The line went dead. I grabbed my jacket. Henry looked up from the laptop. What's happening? Jackson's here, in Portland. He wants to meet. Henry stood. You want me to come? I shook my head. This is something I need to do alone. He nodded. Be careful. I drove fast. 40 minutes on dark mountain roads. The diner appeared through the trees, neon sign flickering, half the parking lot empty. Jackson's rental car sat near the entrance. Oregon plates, engine still ticking. I parked beside it and walked inside. He was in a back booth, hood up, head down. When he saw me, he stood, then froze. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then I crossed the room and pulled him into a hug. He broke, collapsed against me, sobbed into my shoulder the way he used to when he was little. I'm sorry, Dad, I'm so sorry. I held him tight. It's okay, I know everything. We sat. The waitress brought coffee. Neither of us touched it. Jackson wiped his face, looked at me. You saw the emails. All of them. He flinched. Then you know what I did. I know what Marcus did. I know how he manipulated you. Jackson shook his head. I should have seen it. I should have told you about the debt. Why didn't you? He stared at his hands. Because I was ashamed. Because I thought you'd be disappointed. You always had everything together. Good job. Strong. I didn't want you to know I'd screwed up that bad. Jackson, you're 22. Everyone screws up. Not like this. His voice broke again. $80,000. Dad. I was gambling online for almost a year. It started small. Then I couldn't stop. By the time I realized how deep I was, it was too late. I reached across the table, squeezed his hand. When Marcus offered to help, I thought it was a gift. He said he cared about Mom, that he wanted to help the family. He paid $20,000 up front, said the rest would come after I testified. What did he tell you to say? Jackson looked up. That you'd been acting erratic, mood swings, paranoia. He said Mom was scared, that she needed support in court. And you believed him. Yeah, because Mom backed it up. She called me every week, told me you were changing, that she was worried about you, that she needed me to be honest if it came to a divorce. I thought about the footage, Daphne on FaceTime manipulating Jackson with every word. Did you know about the drugs? Jackson's head snapped up. What drugs? Marcus planted cocaine in my truck. 6 bags, 50 grams each. They were going to frame me. Jackson went pale. No, God, no. I didn't know anything about that. Did you know about the affair? He stared. What affair? Your mother and Marcus. They've been together 8 months. Jackson looked like I'd punched him. No, that's not possible. I pulled out my phone, showed him the footage. Daphne and Marcus in the kitchen, kissing, planning, laughing about how I'd be finished. Jackson watched, his face drained of color. When the clip ended, he set the phone down. She lied to me? Yeah. About everything. Yeah. He put his head in his hands. I thought I was helping her, protecting her. I thought you were the problem. Marcus made sure you thought that. Jackson looked up. Tears streamed down his face. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know you didn't. I took his money. I signed papers. I agreed to testify against you. Because you were drowning, and he threw you a rope. That's what predators do, Jackson. They find your weakness and exploit it. But I should have... Stop. I leaned forward. You're not the villain here. You're a victim, just like me. Jackson wiped his eyes. What do we do now? I told him everything. The cameras, the footage, the confession, the blog going viral, the evidence stacking up. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I'm going back to the house. I'm confronting them, both of them, and I want you there. Jackson straightened. What do you need me to do? Tell the truth, on camera, about what Marcus did, how he manipulated you, how he paid you to testify. Will that help? It'll destroy their case. Daphne and Marcus are claiming I'm paranoid, that I faked the evidence. But if you testify that Marcus blackmailed you, that changes everything. Jackson nodded. I'll do it, whatever you need. There's one more thing. What? I need you to tell your mother you're coming home, that you want to see her. Set up a meeting for tomorrow night. Why? Because if she thinks you're still on her side, she won't see it coming. Jackson hesitated. Then he pulled out his phone, typed a message. To Mom, hey, I'm flying back tomorrow. Can we meet at the house 8 p.m.? I need to talk to you about everything. Love you. Daphne's reply came within minutes. From Mom, of course, sweetheart. I'll be here. Can't wait to see you. Love you too. Jackson set the phone down. She has no idea. Good. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Jackson looked at me. Hey, Dad, I know I messed up, but I want to fix this. I want to make it right. You already are. He shook his head. No, I mean, really fix it. I'll testify against them. I'll go to the police. I'll tell them everything Marcus did. Jackson, I'm in debt to a gambling site. I took money under false pretenses. I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I don't care. I just want you to know I'm on your side now. I reached across the table again, gripped his shoulder. We'll figure it out, together. Jackson nodded, wiped his face. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Tomorrow night. I drove back to the cabin. When I walked in, Henry looked up. Yeah, how'd it go? He's in. Tomorrow night we end this. Henry stood. You ready? I thought about Daphne's smug smile, Marcus's cold calculation, the 8 months of lies, the drugs, the manipulation, my son's tears. Yeah, I'm ready. I texted Daphne from a burner phone. Message, we need to talk. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. at the house. Her reply came fast. From Daphne, fine, but I'm bringing my lawyer. I smiled. Reply, bring whoever you want. This ends tomorrow. I set the phone down. Henry handed me a beer. What's the play? Jackson arrives first, acts like he's there to support Daphne. Then I show up, cameras rolling. We confront them with everything. Marcus, Daphne, all of it, on record. And if they run, they won't. Daphne thinks she's in control. Marcus thinks he's untouchable. They'll stay. They'll try to talk their way out. And that's when you bury them. That's when we bury them. Henry raised his beer. To tomorrow, I clinked bottles with him. To tomorrow, I looked out the cabin window. The trees were dark against the sky. Somewhere out there, Daphne was planning. Marcus was scheming. But they didn't know what was coming. Jackson would land early tomorrow. I had 24 hours to prepare. Tomorrow night, everything ended. One way or another, 8 p.m. I stood in my living room for the first time in 10 days. The house felt like it belonged to someone else, the furniture familiar, but foreign, the air thick with memories that no longer felt like mine. But this was my house. I'd drawn the blueprints, framed the walls, wired every outlet. I'd built this place with my own hands, and tonight I was taking it back. 7:30 p.m. Henry, Jackson, and I did a final systems check. All 7 cameras online, green lights across the board, each feed clear and steady angles, perfect audio levels, good. We'd gone through this twice already, but I needed to be certain. There would be no second chances once this started. My laptop sat open on the kitchen counter. Chris Manning's face filled the screen, his home office visible behind him. He'd been monitoring the setup remotely for the past hour, running tests, checking bandwidth, making sure everything would hold when the traffic spiked. Audio's clear, video's sharp. You ready to go live? Chris asked, his expression serious. I looked at Henry. He stood near the living room window, solid and calm as always. He gave me a single nod, the same nod he'd given me 100 times over the years when we'd worked on projects together. It meant I'm with you. Whatever happens. I looked at Jackson. He was pale but steady jaw, set hands clenched at his sides. My son. 22 years old. About to watch his mother exposed for crimes he'd only recently learned the full scope of. I'm ready, Dad, he said quietly. I turned back to Chris. Let's do it. Extreme goes live the second you give the signal. I'll moderate comments. The blog's already got 1,500 people waiting. Chris leaned closer to his camera, concern visible in his eyes. Trent, be careful. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. Everything that happens in that room will be public, permanent. I know. My voice was steady. I'd spent 10 days preparing for this moment. I'd lost everything, my home, my reputation, my sense of safety. But I'd gained something to clarity. I knew exactly what I was walking into, and I knew there was no other way. All right, I'm standing by. Chris's window minimized to the corner of my screen. I checked my phone. Daphne had texted 20 minutes ago. The message was brief, businesslike, exactly the tone she'd used for years when discussing logistics. From Daphne on my way. Michael's with me. Michael Reed, her lawyer. $15,000 retainer, paid from our joint account without my knowledge, without my consent. I'd discovered that payment buried in the financial records Chris had pulled. Daphne had told Michael the money came from her personal account. Another lie in a web of lies so thick I was still untangling them. Perfect. Let Michael see what his client really was. Let him understand exactly who he'd been defending. I heard tires on gravel. Headlights swept across the front windows, cutting through the dim light of early evening. My pulse kicked up, but my hands stayed steady. This was it. Jackson stepped back into the kitchen, moving out of sight behind the doorframe. Henry shifted to the corner of the living room, positioning himself where he could see everything, but wouldn't be immediately visible when they walked in. Quiet, watching, ready. I stayed center, waiting. The front door opened. Daphne walked in first. Business suit charcoal gray tailored perfectly. Hairstyle, makeup flawless. Face composed, controlled. She looked like she was walking into a business meeting, not a confrontation with the husband she'd tried to destroy. Behind her, Marcus Kane. Confident, casual, dark jeans, button-down shirt jacket that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He moved like he owned the place, scanning the room with the easy assurance of someone who thought he was untouchable. Behind him, Michael Reed. 50-something gray suit leather briefcase gripped in one hand. He looked uncomfortable, eyes darting around the room, taking in the setup, the laptop on the counter, me standing alone in the center of the living room. Something about this wasn't sitting right with him. Good. His instincts were better than his judgment in clients. Daphne stopped when she saw me. Her eyes narrowed slightly, calculation visible behind the composed mask. She was already strategizing, already planning her moves. Trent, she said. Her voice was cool, controlled. Daphne, I replied. Marcus closed the door behind them. leaned against it, arms crossed, relaxed. "This is cozy," he said, a slight smirk on his face. "The whole gang's here." I ignored him, kept my eyes on Daphne. "Where's Jackson?" She blinked, the only crack in her composure. "He's meeting me here. He'll be here any minute." She glanced toward the kitchen, as if expecting him to walk through the door. "Good, I want him to hear this." Daphne glanced at Michael, a silent signal. Michael stepped forward, clearing his throat, shifting into lawyer mode. Professional, careful. "Mr. Maddox, I'm Michael Reed, Mrs. Maddox's attorney. Before we proceed, I need to inform you that anything said here can and will be used in—" "Save it," I said, cutting him off. "I know who you are, $15,000 retainer, paid 2 months ago, from our joint account." Michael's face went blank. He turned slowly toward Daphne. "You said it came from your personal account." Daphne's jaw tightened, the first real sign of tension. "It did." "No," I said clearly. "It came from the account I set up when we got married, the one we both contribute to. Check your records, Michael. Pull up the transaction history. You'll see exactly which account that payment came from." Michael pulled out his phone, started scrolling. I watched his face darken as he found the records, saw the truth. His eyes flicked to Daphne, then back to his phone. He said nothing, but his silence spoke volumes. Daphne turned to me, and for the first time I saw anger flash in her eyes. "What do you want, Trent?" "I want the truth." "The truth?" She laughed. It was cold, sharp, humorless. "The truth is, you've been harassing me for weeks, threatening me. I have witnesses. I have a restraining order. You filed that yesterday, after the blog went live." I kept my voice level, factual. Her smile faltered, just for a second, but I saw it. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen. "Chris, we're live." On my laptop, a notification popped up. "Live stream active. 200 viewers." Daphne's eyes flicked to the screen. Her face paled. "What is that?" "That," I said, "is 1,500 people who've been following this story, and now they're watching. Live. Everything that happens in this room is being broadcast right now." Her face drained of color. Marcus pushed off the door. "Turn it off." "No." He stepped forward. Henry moved from the corner. Solid, blocking Marcus's path without a word. Marcus stopped. His eyes narrowed, reassessing. The easy confidence slipped slightly. I turned back to Daphne. "You've been telling people I'm unstable, paranoid, erratic, that I'm a danger to you. So, let's talk about that." I opened my laptop, pulled up the first video file. My hands were steady now, muscle memory taking over. "This is footage from our security system, March 15th, 6:45 a.m. I hit play. The screen showed Marcus and 2 men standing beside my F-150 in the driveway. Marcus crouching down beside the driver's side. One of the men handing him something, a black package wrapped tight. Marcus sliding underneath the truck, 90 seconds. Then emerging, brushing off his pants, pulling out his phone, taking photos. One man's voice came through clearly on the recording. "He's finished, just like she wanted." The live stream chat exploded, comments scrolling faster than anyone could read. Daphne stared at the screen, her mouth opened. "That's our evidence," I said. 6 bags of cocaine, 50 grams each, planted under my truck by Marcus Kane, with your full knowledge and approval. Marcus's face was stone. "That's not me." I zoomed in on the frozen frame. Marcus's face clear as day under the driveway lights. His jacket, his watch, his phone, undeniable. "It's you." The viewer count jumped. 2,800 viewers, then 2,900. Michael Reed was scrolling frantically through his phone, face pale. "Mrs. Maddox, you told me your husband was fabricating evidence." "I am." Daphne's voice cracked, the composure finally breaking. "He doctored those videos, deep fake. You can't trust anything he—" I played the next clip. Daphne in the kitchen, April 20th, reaching into a cabinet, pulling out a small unmarked bottle, unscrewing the cap carefully, pouring drops into a coffee mug, stirring, setting it on the counter where I always grab my morning coffee before heading out. The chat went wild. I paused the video, let the image hang there. Daphne clear as day, poisoning my coffee. That bottle contains a mild hallucinogen, administered daily for 6 months, designed to make me seem unstable, forgetful, paranoid, to build a case that I was mentally unfit. Michael Reed closed his briefcase with a sharp snap. "Mrs. Maddox, I can't represent you if—" "Shut up, Michael!" Daphne snapped, her voice rising. The room went silent. Even the live stream chat seemed to pause. I played the final clip, Daphne and Marcus in this very living room, 2 nights ago. Their voices clear through the hidden camera. I'd installed in the desk lamp. Daphne's voice on the recording, the blog, everyone's seen it. The police called today. Marcus, then we finish this tonight. The package is still in his truck. PDX level 3. Cops find it. We give an anonymous tip, Trent gets arrested. Daphne and Jackson? Marcus Jackson testifies, just like we planned. The viewer count hit 3,200, then 3,500. Michael Reed stood. His face was hard professional mask, completely gone. I'm done. Mrs. Maddox, I'm withdrawing as your counsel, effective immediately. He walked out. The front door slammed behind him. Daphne's face crumbled. She looked at Marcus, desperation replacing the composure. Do something! Marcus's eyes were cold, calculating. He looked at me. Turn off the camera, Trent. No. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made, I said quietly, was trusting you. Both of you. Daphne turned toward the laptop, lunged for it, trying to close it to end the stream. Henry stepped in, caught her wrist gently but firmly. Ma'am, don't. She jerked back, breathing hard, mascara smudged, hair falling loose from its perfect style. I looked directly at the camera, at the 4,000 people now watching. My name is Trent Maddox. For the past 10 days I've been in hiding. My wife Daphne Maddox and her lover Marcus Kane planted drugs in my truck, drugged my coffee for months, manipulated my son into testifying against me. They planned to have me arrested, committed to a psychiatric facility, and stripped of everything I own. I turned back to them. Daphne's hands shook. Marcus stood silent, watching, waiting for an opening that wouldn't come. I turned toward the kitchen. Jackson, come out here. The room went dead silent. Daphne's eyes went wide, horror spreading across her face as understanding dawned. Jackson stepped through the doorway. 8 p.m. I stood in my living room for the first time in 10 days. The house felt like it belonged to someone else now. The air different, the shadows unfamiliar. Every corner held memories that felt tainted, corrupted by lies I hadn't seen coming. But this house was mine. I'd designed every room, framed every wall, wired every outlet with my own hands. And tonight, I was taking it all back. At 7:30, Henry Jackson and I conducted our final systems check. All 7 cameras showed green status lights, living room, kitchen office, bedroom garage, and the 3 new installations we'd added just days ago. Every angle covered. Every word would be captured. My laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, its screen glowing in the dim light. Chris Manning's face filled the display, his expression serious and focused behind his glasses. Audio's clear on all channels. Chris reported adjusting something on his end. Video quality is sharp, frame rate solid. You ready to go live? I glanced toward Henry, who stood near the doorway with his arms crossed. He gave me a single firm nod, the kind of wordless support that meant everything in that moment. Then I looked at Jackson. My son stood beside the counter, pale but steady, his jaw set with determination I hadn't seen in years. His hands weren't shaking anymore. Whatever fear he'd carried into this confrontation had transformed into something harder, more resolved. I'm ready, Dad, Jackson said quietly. I turned back to Chris on the screen. Let's do it. That stream goes live the second you give the signal, Chris confirmed. I'll moderate the comments and handle any technical issues. The blog's already got 1,500 people waiting in the chat room. They've been refreshing constantly for the past hour. Good. Chris leaned closer to his camera, his face filling my screen. Trent, be careful. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. Everything said in that room will be public record. Thousands of people will see it. You understand that? I know, I said. That's exactly what I want. All right, I'm standing by. The video window minimized to the corner of my screen. I checked my phone, scrolling through recent messages. Daphne had texted 20 minutes ago, short-clipped, businesslike, as always. From Daphne on my way. Michael's with me. Michael Reed, her lawyer. The man she'd hired 2 months ago with a $15,000 retainer, money pulled from our joint account, without my knowledge, without my signature, without even the courtesy of a conversation. I'd found the transaction buried in bank statements. Chris had recovered just one line item among dozens of transfers I'd never authorized. Perfect. Let Michael Reed see exactly what kind of client he'd been defending. Let him watch the truth unfold in real time. I heard tires crunching on gravel outside. Headlights swept across the front windows, casting moving shadows through the curtains. My heart rate kicked up, adrenaline flooding my system, but I forced myself to stay calm. Everything depended on control now, on keeping my composure while their world fell apart. Jackson stepped back into the kitchen, moving out of sight of the front door. Henry shifted position to the corner of the living room, quiet and watchful, his presence solid and reassuring. He had insisted on being here, on having my back when this went down. I couldn't have asked for a better friend. I stayed center in the room, waiting. The front door opened. Daphne walked in first, as polished and composed as ever. Business suit, perfectly tailored hair, styled with precision, face arranged in that mask of calm control she'd perfected over 23 years of marriage. She looked like she was walking into a business meeting, not a confrontation that would destroy everything she'd built on lies. Behind her came Marcus Kane, confident, casual, moving like he owned the place. Dark jacket, expensive shoes, that arrogant tilt to his head that had always irritated me on some instinctive level. Now I understood why. He wasn't just Daphne's consultant or business associate. He was the architect of my destruction. Behind them, both Michael Reed, 50-something gray suit that probably cost more than my truck leather briefcase clutched in one hand. He looked uncomfortable, his eyes darting around the room, clearly uncertain why this meeting was happening at the house, instead of in his office where he could control the environment. Daphne stopped when she saw me standing there. Her eyes narrowed slightly, the only crack in her perfect composure. "Trent." "Daphne." Marcus closed the door behind them with deliberate slowness. He leaned against it, arms crossed, a slight smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Everything about his posture screamed ownership, dominance, control. This is cozy," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "The whole gang's here." I ignored him completely, keeping my focus on Daphne. "Where's Jackson?" She blinked, clearly thrown by the question. "He's meeting me here. He'll be here any minute. He texted that he was running a few minutes late." "Good," I said evenly. "I want him to hear this." Daphne glanced at Michael, a quick flash of uncertainty crossing her features. Michael stepped forward, clearing his throat in that officious way lawyers have already launching into whatever script he'd prepared. "Mr. Maddox, I'm Michael Reed, Mrs. Maddox's attorney. Before we proceed with whatever this meeting is about, I need to inform you that anything said here can and will be used in—" "Save it," I cut him off. "I know exactly who you are, Michael. $15,000 retainer, paid 2 months ago, from our joint account." Michael's face went blank, his professional mask slipping. He looked sharply at Daphne. "You said it came from your personal account." Daphne's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping near her temple. "It did." "No," I said calmly. "It came from the account I set up when we got married, the one we both contribute to, the one that requires both signatures for withdrawals over $5,000. Check your records, Michael. Check the account number on that retainer check." Michael pulled out his phone, fingers moving quickly across the screen. I watched his face as he scrolled through whatever banking app or email records he was accessing. His expression darkened with each passing second. Daphne turned back to me, abandoning the pretense with her lawyer. "What do you want, Trent?" "I want the truth." "The truth." She laughed, cold, sharp, brittle. "The truth is you've been harassing me for weeks, threatening me. I have witnesses. I have a restraining order." "You filed that yesterday," I pointed out. "Right after the blog went live. Interesting timing." Her smile faltered just slightly. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen twice. "Chris, we're live." On my laptop, a notification popped up immediately. "Live stream active. 200 viewers." Daphne's eyes flicked to the screen, her face drained of color. "What is that?" And that, I said, meeting her stare directly, is 1,500 people who've been following this story for the past week. And now they're watching, live, every word, every reaction. Everything that happens in this room is being broadcast right now. Her face went from pale to ashen. Marcus pushed off the door, his casual arrogance evaporating. "Turn it off!" "No." He stepped forward, menace in his posture. Henry moved from the corner, not threatening, just present, solid, blocking Marcus's path to me or the laptop. Marcus stopped. I turned back to Daphne, my voice steady. "You've been telling people I'm unstable, paranoid, erratic. So let's talk about that. Let's show everyone exactly what's been happening." I opened my laptop, fully pulled up the first video file I'd queued. This is footage from our security system, March 15th, 6:45 a.m. I hit play. The screen showed Marcus and 2 men I didn't recognize standing beside my F-150 in the driveway. The timestamp was clear. Marcus crouched beside the driver's side, slid underneath. 90 seconds later, he emerged brushing dirt off his jacket. He pulled out his phone, took 3 photos, driver's side, rear bumper, license plate. One man's voice came through clearly on the audio. "Done. He's finished." Just like she wanted. The live stream chat exploded with comments scrolling faster than anyone could read them. Daphne stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. That's evidence, I finished for her. 6 bags of cocaine, 50 grams each, planted under my truck by Marcus Kane while I was taking our son to the airport. Marcus's face had turned to stone. That's not me. I zoomed in on the frozen frame, Marcus's face perfectly visible and unmistakable. It's you. The viewer count jumped to 2,800 and kept climbing. Michael Reed was frantically scrolling through his phone, his face growing paler by the second. Mrs. Maddox, you told me your husband was fabricating evidence that none of this was... I am... Daphne's voice cracked with desperation. He doctored those videos deepfake technology you can't trust. I played the next clip without responding to her protests. This one showed Daphne in our kitchen. April 20th, morning light streaming through the windows. She opened a cabinet, pulled out an unmarked bottle, unscrewed the cap. Carefully poured drops into a coffee mug, my mug, the blue one I'd used every morning for 15 years. Added cream. Stirred. Set it on the counter in exactly the spot where I always grab my coffee before heading to work. The live stream chat went absolutely wild. I paused the video. That bottle contains a mild hallucinogen, administered daily for 6 months, designed to make me seem unstable, forgetful, paranoid, to build a case that I was having a mental breakdown. Michael Reed closed his briefcase with a sharp snap. Mrs. Maddox, I can't represent you if you've been... Shut up, Michael! Daphne snapped her composure, finally shattering completely. The room went absolutely silent. I played one final clip. Daphne and Marcus in this very living room, 2 nights ago, late evening. The timestamp showed 11:15 p.m. Their voices came through crystal clear. Daphne, the blog, everyone's seen it. The police called me today. They're asking questions. Marcus, then we finish this. Tonight. The package is still in his truck. PDX level 3. Cops find it. We give an anonymous tip. Trent gets arrested. Daphne and Jackson. Marcus Jackson testifies. Just like we planned, the kid's in too deep to back out now. The viewer count hit 3,200. Michael Reed stood abruptly. I'm done. Mrs. Maddox, I'm withdrawing as your counsel. Effective immediately. He walked out. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Daphne's face crumbled. She looked at Marcus with desperate, pleading eyes. Do something! Marcus's eyes were cold now, calculating. Turn off the camera, Trent. No, you're making a mistake. The only mistake I made, I said quietly, was trusting you. Daphne suddenly lunged toward the laptop. Henry stepped in smoothly, catching her wrist. Gentle but absolutely firm. Ma'am, don't. She jerked back, breathing hard, mascara starting to smudge under her eyes. I looked directly into the camera. At the 3,800 people now watching, my name is Trent Maddox. For the past 10 days, I've been in hiding. My wife, Daphne Maddox, and her lover, Marcus Kane, planted drugs in my truck, drugged my coffee for months, manipulated my son into testifying against me. They planned to have me arrested, committed to a psychiatric facility, and stripped of everything I own. I turned back to face them. And now the whole world knows the truth. Daphne's hands shook. Marcus stood silent, watching, waiting, probably already calculating his next move, his escape strategy. I turned toward the kitchen. Jackson, come out here. The room went dead silent. Daphne's eyes went wide, horror spreading across her face like a crack through ice. Jackson stepped through the doorway. 2 weeks later, I spent 6 hours at the police station, giving my full statement. Detective Brooks sat across from me in the small interview room, the digital recorder spinning between us, red light blinking steadily. She had a yellow legal pad filled with notes, her pen moving occasionally as I spoke. Mid-40s, sharp eyes that had seen too much darkness, but still recognized truth when it appeared. We've reviewed all the footage, she said, flipping through pages of documentation. The blog posts the live stream recording every video file from your security system. The financial records Sophia Morales provided. Bank statements, email, correspondence, text messages. We've built a comprehensive timeline. And, I prompted, though part of me already knew the answer from her expression. Sophia Morales gave her testimony yesterday. 3 hours of detailed statements about what she observed in your household. She testified specifically about the poisoning, watching your wife add substances to your coffee every morning, the behavioral changes she noticed in you, the conversations she overheard between Daphne and Marcus Kane. Brooks paused, meeting my eyes. The lab confirmed the substance in that unmarked bottle, mild hallucinogen classified as a controlled substance. Cumulative effects when administered regularly over extended periods. Designed specifically to mimic symptoms of paranoid disorder, over time, memory problems, mood, instability, difficulty concentrating, heightened anxiety. I nodded slowly. I'd known this since Sophia first warned me had seen the evidence in those kitchen videos. But hearing it confirmed by laboratory analysis stated as established fact by a police detective made it real in a way that settled somewhere deep and cold in my chest. Marcus Kane has been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud drug possession, with intent to frame another person's extortion and witness tampering. She continued, her tone professional, but not without sympathy. Daphne Maddox has been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false police reports, attempted poisoning, financial fraud, and identity theft related to unauthorized use of joint accounts. She set down her pen, looking at me directly. These are serious charges, Mr. Maddox. The district attorney's office is treating this as high-priority prosecution. The live stream documentation helped enormously. Having that confrontation recorded in real time with thousands of witnesses makes it very difficult for the defense to claim evidence tampering. What about Jackson? The question escaped before I could stop it, my concern for my son overriding everything else in that moment. Detective Brooks's expression softened noticeably. She had kids of her own. I'd learned 2 daughters in college. Maybe that's why she understood the particular agony of watching your child suffer consequences while knowing they'd been manipulated. Your son is cooperating fully with the investigation, she said carefully. He's provided extensive testimony about Marcus Kane's manipulation as tactics, the gambling debts, the coercion, and blackmail. He's turned over all communications, emails, text messages, recorded phone conversations. Given his age, the clear evidence of coercion, and his complete cooperation, the district attorney is offering a very favorable deal. What kind of deal? Probation, 2 years supervised, 200 hours of community service, court-ordered counseling for gambling addiction, and restitution for the money he accepted. He'll need to repay the remaining $60,000 over 5 years in monthly installments. I exhaled slowly, relief flooding through me. He'll take it. I thought he might. Brooks made a note. Your son's cooperation has been invaluable, Mr. Maddox. The testimony he's providing about Marcus Kane's systematic methods is helping us build cases in at least 2 other situations where we believe Kane used similar tactics. Your son coming forward may prevent other families from experiencing what yours has endured. Good. Because what else could I say? Jackson had made terrible choices, yes, but he'd found courage to face them, to tell the truth, even when it hurt. Brooks closed her notepad and sat back. Mr. Maddox, I've been doing this job 20 years. I've worked homicides, assaults, domestic violence cases. I've seen a lot of ugly divorces, people doing terrible things when relationships fall apart. But this, she shook her head slowly. This was different. This wasn't passion or impulse. This was systematic, premeditated, calculated. Your wife and Marcus Kane spent months planning your destruction. They documented their plans in writing. They were willing to send you to prison on completely fabricated charges. She leaned forward slightly. You're lucky you got out, Mr. Maddox. If Sophia Morales hadn't warned you, if you hadn't checked those security cameras, if you hadn't gathered evidence so meticulously, you'd be in a cell right now or committed to a psychiatric facility, with your entire life dismantled. You understand that, right? I know, I said quietly. The full weight of what had almost happened settled over me regularly, usually in quiet early morning hours when sleep wouldn't come. You're also lucky you had people who believed you, Brooks added. Sophia Morales, who risked her livelihood to help. Henry Walker, who backed you without question. Chris Manning, who gathered evidence and broadcast your story. And ultimately your son, who found courage to tell the truth despite his own mistakes. I thought about each of them. Sophia calling to check in every few days. Henry stopping by with casseroles his wife had made, Chris fielding media inquiries so I didn't have to. Jackson working night shifts and attending classes, slowly rebuilding what he'd nearly destroyed. Yeah, I said, my throat tight. I am. 1 month later, the trial began. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected from television dramas, maybe 50 seats for spectators, wood paneling darkened with age, Oregon seal mounted above the judge's bench. It smelled like old books and floor polish and accumulated tension. I sat in the second row behind the prosecutor's table. Jackson sat to my right, wearing his only suit tie slightly crooked. Sophia sat on my left, hands folded in her lap, knuckles white where she gripped her purse. Henry was 3 rows back. He'd taken the day off to be here. Chris had flown in from Seattle. District Attorney Jennifer Walsh occupied the prosecution table, early 50s reputation for being ruthless in court, 23 years of experience. Daphne sat at the defense table with her public defender wearing a conservative gray dress, hair pulled back severely. She hadn't looked at me once. Marcus Kane sat at the second defense table with his attorney looking relaxed, almost bored, as if this entire proceeding was merely a minor inconvenience. The trial proceeded methodically over several weeks. The prosecution presented everything: Sophia's testimony about the poisoning, the conversations she had overheard, security footage showing Marcus planting drugs, Daphne adding substances to my coffee, the 83 emails manipulating Jackson, bank records showing unauthorized transfers, the live stream recording of our confrontation viewed by thousands in real time. Marcus sat stone-faced throughout. Daphne cried frequently. Her lawyer argued coercion, mental distress, misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, documented from multiple sources. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 1 week later. The courtroom felt heavier somehow, the air thick with anticipation. Judge Patricia Morrison reviewed the case files before looking up at Daphne. "Mrs. Maddox, you orchestrated a conspiracy to destroy your husband's life, his reputation, and his relationship with his son. You poisoned him for months. You framed him for crimes he didn't commit. You manipulated your own child for financial gain." Daphne stared at the floor, mascara-smudged hands trembling. "I'm sentencing you to 6 years in state prison. No parole eligibility for 3 years." Daphne's lawyer started to object. The judge held up one hand, silencing him immediately. "Mr. Kane," Judge Morrison turned to Marcus, "you exploited a young man's vulnerability. You blackmailed him. You planted narcotics with intent to frame an innocent person. We found evidence of 2 prior cases with similar patterns. This is your method, your business model. You systematically destroy families for profit." Marcus said nothing, his face revealing nothing. 7 years in state prison, no parole eligibility for 4 years. The gavel fell with sharp finality. Daphne was led out by court officers. She didn't look at me, didn't look at Jackson, just walked with her head down, shoulders shaking. Marcus did look back. One last cold stare, calculating even in defeat, before officers escorted him through the door, and he disappeared. Jackson's hearing came 1 week later. He stood before a different judge in a smaller courtroom, pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud, the reduced charge his cooperation had earned. The judge reviewed his file thoroughly, reading statements examining evidence of coercion. "Mr. Maddox, you're 22 years old. You made terrible choices. But the evidence shows clearly that you were manipulated, coerced, exploited when you were vulnerable. You didn't know the full scope of what was being planned." Jackson nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. That doesn't absolve you completely. You took money. You agreed to provide false testimony. You hurt your father deeply. Those were choices you made regardless of the circumstances. I know, Your Honor, and I take full responsibility. But you also came forward. You testified against the people who used you. You're cooperating fully with restitution requirements." The judge leaned forward. 2 years probation. 200 hours community service. You'll repay $60,000 over 5 years in monthly installments. Miss a payment, you go to jail. Understood. "Yes, Your Honor." "You're getting a second chance, Mr. Maddox. Very few people get that opportunity. Don't waste it." "I won't, Your Honor." I stood behind Jackson as the judge dismissed us, put my hand on his shoulder, feeling him lean slightly into the touch. "We'll face this together." Jackson nodded, eyes wet. "Thanks, Dad." 6 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. I kept the house, 2156 Skyline Boulevard, the one I'd built with my own hands 12 years ago. Daphne forfeited all claims. The court ordered her to pay $30,000 in restitution from assets she'd hidden in a separate account. I didn't want her money, but Judge Morrison insisted. "She stole from you, Mr. Maddox. This is justice, not revenge." I donated it immediately, half to a gambling addiction recovery center, half to a fund supporting families affected by domestic fraud. Jackson helped me write both checks. 2 months after the confrontation, I walked into a small cafe in downtown Portland. Jackson was already there, sitting in a corner booth with 2 coffees on the table. Sophia arrived minutes later, carrying a foil-wrapped plate. "Empanadas," she announced, setting it down gently. "Homemade, Isabella's recipe." I smiled, feeling warmth spread through my chest. "Thank you, Sophia." We sat together, ate slowly, talked about small, comfortable things. The weather turning colder, the cafe's new seasonal menu, Henry's latest carpentry project, he was building a deck for a neighbor. Then Jackson set down his coffee carefully. "Dad, I've been thinking about some things." "About what?" School. I'm enrolling at Portland Community College for spring semester, and I'm starting therapy for the gambling addiction, for everything that happened. I reached across the table, squeezed his hand firmly. I'm proud of you, Jackson. His eyes filled immediately. I know saying sorry isn't enough. I know I can't undo what I did, can't take back the pain I caused. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it right. You already started, I said quietly. Coming forward took real courage. He wiped his face quickly. I got a job too. Warehouse position night shift. It's not much, but the pay's decent and it'll help with the restitution payments. Jackson, you don't have to. Yeah, I do. He looked at me directly, his voice firm. I took that money. I have to pay it back. On my own. That's part of taking responsibility. I nodded slowly, understanding. Okay, but if you need help, I know, you'll be there. He managed a small smile. You always have been. Sophia reached over, patted Jackson's hand gently. You're a good boy. You made mistakes, yes, but you're fixing them now. That's what matters most. Jackson smiled, small, fragile, but genuine. Sophia turned to me, her eyes soft. Mr. Maddox, 5 years ago, you gave me 2 more years with my daughter. 2 years I never would have had without your generosity. Now, I give you back your son. My throat tightened painfully. You didn't just give him back, Sophia. You saved both of us. She shook her head firmly. No, Mr. Maddox. You saved each other. We sat in comfortable silence for a long moment, just being together in that warm cafe corner. Jackson looked at me, his expression uncertain but hopeful. Dad, do you think we'll be okay? Eventually? I thought about the past 2 months, the fear and anger and betrayal and loss. But I also thought about this moment, the 3 of us sitting together, healing slowly, but healing nonetheless. Yeah, I said, finally meaning it. I think we will. It's going to take time, isn't it? A lot of time. Yeah, a lot of time. I squeezed his hand again. But we have time now. That's what matters. Jackson nodded, wiping his eyes again. I'm ready, however long it takes. I smiled. Me too, son. Sophia raised her coffee cup, her face bright. To new beginnings. We clinked cups together, drank, laughed when Jackson spilled his on the table, the tension breaking into something lighter, easier. I looked at my son across the cafe table, really looked at him. The boy I'd lost was gone, yes. But the man sitting here now, trying earnestly to rebuild everything he'd broken, that man I could absolutely be proud of. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined 23 years ago when I married Daphne. When I held baby Jackson for the first time. When I built that house on Skyline Boulevard with dreams of forever. But maybe that was okay, because this wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning. One day at a time, one conversation at a time, one cup of coffee at a time. We weren't whole yet. Maybe we never would be completely, but we were healing, and that was enough. I didn't arrive at these lessons all at once. They came slowly, painfully, after everything I thought was solid fell apart. For most of my adult life, I believed trust meant endurance. I believed love meant patience at any cost. I believed loyalty required silence. And by holding on to those beliefs for 23 years, I unknowingly built the conditions that allowed my life to unravel. I trusted Daphne without hesitation. I accepted explanations instead of asking questions. I avoided looking too closely because I thought that was what commitment required. I never checked bank statements carefully. I never challenged decisions that felt rushed, emotional, or conveniently framed as for the family. I convinced myself that doubt was a flaw, that curiosity was betrayal, and that a good husband didn't investigate the person he loved. That mindset nearly destroyed me. If you take anything from my experience, let it be this: don't be like me. I ignored small inconsistencies because they were easier to live with than conflict. I dismissed unease because I wanted peace more than clarity. I told myself I was being strong, when in reality, I was avoiding discomfort. Every warning sign arrived quietly: soft thoughts, brief moments of confusion, instincts whispering that something was off. And every time, I chose to look away. The most painful part isn't the money that disappeared, or the years spent trying to hold together something that was already broken. It's realizing how many chances I had to intervene sooner. How many times I could have asked a single question and didn't. How many moments I could have listened to myself, but chose silence instead. This wasn't just my failure as a husband. It was my failure as a father. I thought protecting my son meant shielding him from conflict. I believed keeping the peace would keep him safe. What I didn't understand was that silence creates space where manipulation thrives unchecked. That is how family betrayal takes root. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly disguised as care, concern, and sacrifice. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, please don't wait. Don't wait until your finances collapse. Don't wait until your identity is questioned. Don't wait until your children are pulled into a situation they don't fully understand. Shame will tell you that asking questions makes you weak or ungrateful. Fear will tell you that clarity will cost you everything. But silence doesn't protect families, it protects those who exploit them. When everything finally fell apart, I had nothing left but exhaustion and fear. I hid in that cabin because I didn't know who to trust anymore. Not my wife, not my surroundings, not even my own judgment. I replayed conversations in my head, doubting my memories, questioning my instincts. I felt embarrassed by how blind I had been, and ashamed that I allowed things to reach that point. And yet I didn't disappear. I'm not someone who speaks lightly about faith, but I can't tell this part of my family story without acknowledging what carried me forward when logic and strength failed me. When I felt completely alone, God placed Sophia in my path, at the moment I needed someone willing to stand up for decency. When doubt clouded my thinking, God gave me the resolve to take steps I had been afraid to take for years. And when I believed I had lost my son beyond repair, God slowly guided him back to me. Not quickly, not easily, but in a way that allowed growth instead of resentment. Healing doesn't look the way movies make it seem. It doesn't arrive with dramatic speeches or perfect apologies. Healing looks like uncomfortable conversations, long pauses, therapy sessions, and rebuilding trust piece by piece. Some days feel heavy. Some days feel hopeful. Most days exist somewhere in between. My son and I are still learning how to communicate honestly, how to sit with discomfort, and how to rebuild something that was damaged but not destroyed. That process is slow, and it's real. I used to believe strength meant endurance, staying no matter the cost. Now I understand that strength sometimes means choosing yourself. It means setting boundaries even when it hurts. It means walking away before you lose who you are. Love should never require blindness. Loyalty should never demand silence. And trust cannot grow where information is controlled. This experience reshaped my understanding of responsibility, partnership, and my own role within them. My personal belief is this: forgiveness and accountability can exist together. Compassion does not erase consequences, and protecting your children sometimes requires facing realities you wish weren't true. If someone in your life isolates you, controls information, manipulates finances, or subtly turns your children against you, don't minimize it. Don't rationalize it. Don't hope it improves on its own. Patterns like these don't fade, they deepen, and eventually they consume everything around them. I'm sharing this not as someone who has everything figured out, but as someone who learned the hard way. This family story didn't end because I was smarter or stronger than anyone else. It ended because I finally stopped being silent, because I accepted help, because I chose clarity over comfort. There is no shame in asking questions. There is no weakness in protecting yourself. And there is no honor in sacrificing your well-being to preserve an illusion. This journey taught me that family betrayal doesn't begin with a single act. It begins when good people stop trusting their instincts. It grows when silence feels safer than confrontation. And it ends only when someone decides to speak, act, and step into the light, even if the cost feels unbearable. As I reflect now, I see this not just as my experience, but as part of a larger family story about accountability, resilience, and choosing awareness over denial. That perspective doesn't erase the pain, but it gives meaning to it. Before we part, I want to hear from you. If you've stayed until the end, leave a comment below and let me know you were here. You don't have to explain everything, share a thought, a feeling, or simply type a number. Your presence matters. If stories like this resonate with you, stories about rebuilding after loss, facing hard lessons, and finding steadiness again, consider subscribing and sharing this video with someone who might need it. Sometimes the right story reaches the right person at the moment they need it most. Thank you sincerely for staying with me through this entire journey. And one final note before we close: this story includes dramatized and fictional elements shaped for reflection and educational purposes. Some details have been adjusted, and it may not fully mirror real events. If this type of content isn't for you, you're welcome to exit and choose something that better suits your preferences. Thank you again for watching until the very end. Sometimes a story doesn't just hold your attention. Sometimes it changes the way you protect your own life.